Oh, hey there, and welcome. Fucking it. To the Ope-Eh Three-Way Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sorry, I got so excited. I must have shook this bitch up a little bit. Well, I'm here as always with my good buds, Donnie and Pierce. And fellas, it is a good day for a great podcast because we got a very special episode today. We got a guest in the house. Good sir, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am JPJ. I work over on the Between Two Beards podcast with my main man Pluggo, but we work over on Love Wrestling CA based out of Canada. But I am very excited. We've become friends over the last few months, and I'm very excited to be here and talk some road to WrestleMania all time stuff with you guys. So I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
Very honored to have you.
We are happy to have you, man. This is a big episode for us. This is the first ever edition of the Ope-Eh Three-Way Happy Hour. That's what we're going to name these.
Hell yeah. We love a happy hour. How can you not? How can you not? You know?
Yeah, I got a little too happy with this, bud.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, we got two Wisconsin boys, and drinking is just ingrained in our blood.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm based out of the Northeast. I'm born and raised in Massachusetts. So,
right on.
Wisconsin. Okay. I respect Wisconsin. So,
yeah.
And then we got
And
a
you brought up
Toronto
Canada.
boy up north. So that's
that
born
one.
and raised
as a Bruins guy, I can't respect Toronto people too much.
I mean, I can't respect Toronto people either. I'm an Ottawa
it is
fan.
what it is. It is what it is.
I'm an Ottawa fan, so I don't have much smoke with Boston.
Fair enough.
Hockey.
Fair enough. I mean, this year anybody can have smoke with us because we suck. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
That's hockey for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we got a show where we're going to talk about our favorite WrestleManias. Please also follow us on our socials. That's on X, on the old Musk machine. Follow us at Ope-Eh Three-Way. Also on YouTube. We got all the live episodes up there now. Brandon, how's your TNA stuff going over there?
It's getting its foot and trudging along. I really gotta throw a little bit more pizzazz in there. Gotta give it a little more spice. But I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's upward trajectory.
Wow. I mean, you are the local video guy, Brandon. I still got to get better at them. I'm pretty good at tweeting. I'll say that, but
you know what else you're good at?
Well, I thought we were gonna let JPJ plug stuff real quick if he had anything else to. Before we...
I thought he did. Maybe I missed that. Go away. Plug some more.
No, look,
I got trigger happy.
I will never argue against a playing of the Edge. I'm not going to call him Cope, Adam Copeland theme song.
That's fair. That's completely
yes,
fair.
but if you want to follow me, you can follow me at JPJLovesGaming on all social media platforms. But I do it. My main show is Between Two Beards on Love Wrestling. So at B2 Beards on all social media platforms is where you can find me and my wrestling content. But we have a good time. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to have a good night with you fellas this evening. So.
I got trigger happy. You got to understand, as a guy from the Toronto area,
hey man,
I get a little happy sometimes.
I get it. From Toronto, you don't got much to celebrate. So you got to do what you got to do.
How's a guy from Toronto getting trigger happy? That's what I want to know.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's very true.
Yeah,
I'm very confused.
That took a turn.
I'll take that one. I don't even want to play the other buttons for that. So we'll just give that
Fitting.
All right. Now it's time to talk about some pro wrestling history. We got a lot today because there were quite a few manias on this day.
I'm not going to hit the button again.
There were.
Starting with 1989, WrestleMania 5 takes place from the Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Ooh.
It was the second year in a row taking place from Atlantic City. Marquee moments on the card: Rick Rude defeated the Ultimate Warrior for the Intercontinental title. It was Warrior's first ever pinfall loss in the WWF. I think he only got pinned one other time when he lost the WWF Championship to Sergeant Slaughter. He had an insane win-loss record. I think he has the greatest win-loss record in WWE history, if I remember correctly.
You might
I
even
mean,
say the ultimate women's
Uh-huh.
record.
it's true.
Eh,
It's true.
eh.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm the oldest guy here. I know I'm the guest today, but I don't know if I'm the oldest guy here or not. But yeah, the Ultimate Warrior was very protected. He was very protected back in the day. He was yeah. I WrestleMania 5 I feel like was the first the Mega Powers collided, obviously, at
Yep,
WrestleMania
and I was
5.
just about to bring up the Mega Powers exploding.
Yes.
Uh,
So the Mega Powers collided. I feel like that was the first. Look, good. Obviously, Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania 3, and I know we're talking about WrestleManias and the best ones of them today, but like, Hogan and Andre was obviously built as the biggest main event of all time, as it should have been. But I really feel like Hogan and Macho at WrestleMania 5 is the first great main event of WrestleManias.
it's the first great story for Mania. The irresistible
Yes,
force
maybe that's
and
the
the
way to
immovable
put it.
object.
Yeah.
It's a great tagline. They built
Yes.
it, I think, for 6 months, if I remember correctly. They built this main event for a year.
Yes. Yeah.
So this was one of the best OG stories for Mania.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like the Mega Powers colliding was the first truly great story heading into a main event that they had. Obviously, Hogan and Andre is also very good, but I really feel like the heat of this story made it kind of the first real great story heading into a main event of all the
100%.
WrestleManias.
You
Yeah.
had an amazing turn from Randy. Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan. Obviously, he was big. And he
Looking
became
at it now, though, is Randy really the heel? Be
it.
honest.
I
Be honest with me,
I
guys.
can't
Be honest with
I
me.
can't peg
Can't
him as
really
such.
say.
You
Can't
know,
really say. He was trying to protect his
Not-
woman.
I
But
have to. I know I'm new to these airwaves, but Macho Man is my favorite of all time. He is my number one of one. Him and Stone Cold Steve Austin are my 1 and 1A of my greatest of all time. So I'm very
Mm.
biased when it comes to the Macho Man, but he's not the bad guy in this story. He's
Nope.
not, and that's lived with me forever. So
No, it's a fair argument. Fun fact about this: with Hogan winning the WWF title, he became the second ever person to hold the title more than once,
Ah.
well, the second ever, huh?
following Bruno.
I was going to say
Yeah.
Bruno had to be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
When you consider the length and the impact of each individual title run leading up to, one after the other back in those days too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll jump ahead to 1995, Mania 11 from Hartford,
Oh.
Connecticut.
Brutal.
Big wrestling city, Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yes, as being from someone from the Northeast, Hartford, Connecticut, man, somewhere you don't want to be. Anyway,
A little too rich for my taste, but
The Whalers logo
We'll
was
move on.
cool, though.
I do miss the Whalers.
Yeah. I will attest to that.
That's like
Yeah, I
peak
would agree.
hockey logo.
Mm.
Diesel would retain the WWF Championship against Royal Rumble winner Shawn Michaels, becoming the second ever person to retain the championship at Mania besides Hulk Hogan. Seeing a lot of discourse right now with the Rumble winners not main eventing. Shawn Michaels did not main event this Mania, boys.
No. Lawrence Taylor did.
Yep.
LT
With
was the
Bam Bam
man.
Bigelow.
All right, I got to go on record and say, as a big guy who's been a big guy my whole life, I'm happy that Bam Bam Bigelow main evented a WrestleMania because he is just underrated in general. I feel
One of the most underrated talents in.
Yeah, like I just feel like Bam Bam and Bronson Reed is the guy that reminds me of Bam Bam, and I know he's worn the kind of tribute gear before, but Bronson Reed is the guy that reminds me of Bam Bam. But
Yeah, 100%.
Bam Bam, I feel like is so underrated for like what he was, especially like in the mid to late '80s. I feel like he's just he was like tag teaming with Hogan and main eventing stuff. But regardless of that, yeah, what a terrible main event. Bam Bam versus Lawrence Taylor. Just not great. Just not
as a
great.
main event, not great. Lawrence Taylor, they did better than probably what was expected.
I would agree.
They 95 is categorically, besides I would say probably 2019, the worst year WWE ever had.
Mm-hmm.
They needed something to sell Mania, and this sold tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Think
agree.
of how
So we'll
far
jump
we've
ahead.
come. Think of how far, though. What's one more thing that we've come with? Celebrity matches from matches like that and others a little bit later that we might talk about to now when we get Bad Bunny in the ring and things like that. It's quite different.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it's different because the celebrities coming in, say Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, Stephen Amell, they love wrestling, so they're gonna put in the work.
Yeah.
I doubt Lawrence
Also,
Taylor loved wrestling.
Travis Scott now too on that list. Probably seeing him post Mania or at Mania even.
Sure, Cody would love a receipt there.
He
Oh,
openly said so. He openly said so recently that he would very much love one.
Paintbrush the shit out of Cody.
Oh man. Oh man.
Donnie was live in house for that one.
Oh yeah, that was a moment.
I bet. That was a good time.
So we'll jump ahead to 2000, where WrestleMania 2000, WrestleMania 16 happens.
Mm.
This Mania is pretty notorious for only having one singles match on the card. The Cat versus Terry Runnels. Not a great match.
What a solo singles match to have on this card, by the way.
I think this is the match that, like a little after, because I might be misremembering, but I think Jerry Lawler was married to the Cat, and then there was like disrespect, and then they
That is
both quit.
correct. Yeah, Jerry Lawler definitely quit at one point because of Cat stuff, for sure. So,
but we'll talk about a couple matches here. There was a Hardcore Championship Invitational. It was like a 15-man battle royal. Everybody's in the ring at the same time. If you get a pin, you get counted as a lineal champion. Kind of like a proto championship scramble. The finish was botched. Crash Holly was supposed to retain the championship at the end. The ref goes 1-2, and then the bell rings, and then Holly won the title.
yeah.
Also, the first 3-team ladder match, the triangle ladder match between the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardys. Edge and Christian would win. Just incredible wrestling, incredible spots. They have that behind the scenes video on WWE Vault. They all got a standing ovation when it came through the curtain, and rightfully so.
As they should have. I really think these three teams in general, but this match was kind of. I just think this window of tag team wrestling with these three guys when they kind of go on this journey from here through WrestleMania X7, I feel like they really changed tag team wrestling as a whole.
100%.
Without question.
Yeah. So I just feel like this was really the point where it was like, holy crap, I didn't know tag team wrestling could do that kind of stuff for me as a young wrestling fan, kind of growing into. I already loved it, but like kind of growing into it, I was like, man, I didn't know I love tag team wrestling as much as I do right now with these three doing what they're doing.
It sucks because, over the years, it just kind of dwindled. There were, you had New Day Usos, which was incredible tag team wrestling, but Vince hated tag team wrestling for whatever reason, so we didn't get to see it as much as we should have.
Yeah, I agree.
But speaking of Vince, we're going to go to the main event where there was a McMahon in every corner. Triple H versus The Rock versus The Big Show versus the recently retired and unretired Mick Foley. Triple H would retain the title. He shouldn't have. And he became the first heel to retain the title in the Mania main event.
Go figure, huh?
Mm.
The unseated fifth McMahon in that whole equation.
Basically.
What?
More or less.
I do feel like, especially coming off 15, which I thought was a strong Mania, not one of the best, but a strong one. I feel like this was in like the point of WWE where they were at their most popular, but I really feel like as a whole, this was kind of a dud of a Mania.
2000 was the hottest year WWE had to that point.
Yeah.
And the worst show of the year was WrestleMania.
Yeah, right? Like that's weird to me. Like I feel like from a couple years before to a couple years after, that was like the window of the hottest WWE ever was, and I feel like this was the worst Mania of the bunch.
Yeah.
And
if you want to watch a good show, go 1 month ahead and watch Backlash. Backlash is what Mania should have been.
Yeah, this Mania was kind of a major dud for how hot and how great a run they were on in general. Like as their popularity soared, I just feel like this Mania was just not great at all.
Well, we'll jump ahead to what could be classified as a great Mania in 2006, WrestleMania 22 from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. This is the last small arena Mania. After that, they went to all the big stadiums. Mania 36 withholding, pandemic and whatnot. In what I would say is the best match on the card and stole the show, Edge would defeat Mick Foley in a hardcore match.
Mm.
Oh, man.
Terrific. Edge
So-
needed it. Edge needed it.
needed.
Yeah, for sure.
I always loved how, and Mick Foley, I think, doesn't really talk good about this match as much as it should. Like, I love you, Mick, but at the end of the day, like, to me, this is like a signature Mick Foley match. Signature. And I don't think he thinks of it as highly as he does the others, but I always loved how Mick Foley became the guy that, like, when they had guys that they thought could be main eventers, but they needed that last test to get through the crowd and like prove to them that these guys could be main eventers, it was always a hardcore match with Mick. You know?
Yeah, Randy Orton, prime example
Randy
of that one.
Orton, Triple H early on with
Rumble
Cactus
2000.
Jack, Edge.
Yup.
Like it was always, hey, you got to go have a fuck. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can swear or not.
You can swear.
right.
Go
All right, you got to go have a fucking
fuck it.
hardcore match. All right, you got to go have a fucking hardcore match with Mick Foley and like prove to the people that you're a fucking hard ass. You know what I mean? And
100%.
Yeah.
this is what Edge needed. Like Edge would have never been able to become the Edge that we know if he didn't have this match with Mick. And it's one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. I stand by that, even though I don't think Mick looks at it as highly as he should. To me, this is one of his best matches. This is one of my top WrestleMania matches of all time. Him and Edge. I fucking loved
his WrestleMania moment.
match. I loved it. I loved it.
Well, and you can look forward to like Edge Taker and their Mania 24 feud too, when you have Mick kind of being like, what do you call him? Like the shadow that, kind of molded Edge into what he became. Like Mick was the catalyst to get Edge to tap into that final form, phase, whatever, that put him in a spot where he was ready to face The Undertaker at Mania 24.
1000%.
And
1000%.
I
And
mean,
24 is one of my
goes-
top 5. Yeah, 25 is one of my top 5 of all time. So like I fully agree with you. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Continue. But like
No, you're good, you're good.
I fully agree. I fully agree.
But it goes to show just how like pivotal Mick Foley was to Edge's career. And like you said, Mick didn't give it enough credit, but I feel like story writers in WWE at the time and the fans all acknowledge what that match meant to Edge's character. So
I agree.
So
I also-
we'll jump. Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to say, I also think WrestleMania 22 has one of the early great women's matches with Mickie James versus Trish Stratus.
Yep.
I think that
Definitely.
is one of the true first great women's matches in the history of the company, really, but definitely in the history of WrestleMania. Like that match was like very good, and at the time, like women's matches weren't getting that type of
Not at all.
press that they do it at all. And I thought that was a great women's match between Mickie and Trish in 22.
And they
yeah.
told
Well,
a
and
great story. They had a 6+ month story leading into Mania, and they
Yeah.
delivered.
Yeah.
Well, and the way I see it too, look at WrestleMania 21 and what it effectively meant for like the top of the men's divisions, right? It's the changing of the guard. 22, very much the same, but with, Mickie and Trish playing their roles of, Batista and Triple H respectively, or Cena and JBL respectively. Like Mickie James was one of the figureheads, one of the hood ornaments on the new wave of women coming into WWE following your Litas and your Trish Stratuses, etc.
Mhm.
So definitely a very seminal moment for the women's division in WWE, I would say.
And we'll jump to a sentimental moment for the men's division because Rey Mysterio would defeat Kurt Angle and Randy Orton to win the World Heavyweight Championship on this night too.
Very quick match. What was it, like 9 minutes or something like that?
9 minutes because they had to cut time for a Playboy bunny pillow fight thing.
Well, that happened. That was right before the main event, and was that 5 minutes? Like, I feel like that was like 5 minutes or under. That Tori Wilson.
They could have just all respect to the women, they could have just cut that match.
Yeah, like, did that really have to be on there? Couldn't you have given Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, and Randy Orton 5 more minutes? Maybe, you know?
Yeah, how slow and plotting Ray is. I doubt he would have done anything.
Yeah, honestly. I'm going to be honest with you guys. At the time when this was happening, I understand why they were doing everything with Ray, obviously the Eddie stuff, and I get it.
A little hand-fisted, though.
I get it, but I fucking hated it. I did not like it. I was not like, hey, let's be fun and give Ray the stuff, all the stuff, because he was friends with Eddie. I was very against it.
Neither did Chicago.
Yeah, I was very against it. But you know, it is what it is. But like, I don't. Ray's one of the all-timers. I'm not debating that. But I was very against kind of pigeonholing him into the Rumble win and this and all this, just because, you know.
You want to dedicate the win to Eddie and just have that there.
Yeah.
Fine. But don't have Randy Orton going, Eddie's down there in hell 4 months after he died. That's so fucked up.
It was just, and it was one of those things where, and I'm of an age where like this was happening as I was in college. I'm kind of, you know, becoming a young adult, figuring out life, which even now I have no idea, but figuring out life and that stuff. Like this was one of the things that, like, you know, I took a little bit of not a break, but like I kind of, you know, I think we all have maybe a small window where we kind of step back a little bit from how much we care or pay attention. The Rey Mysterio winning the world title here was like a catalyst to me stepping away for a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, they did him no favors. They had him job out every week until a pay-per-view.
I just wasn't in it. And I like Rey, and I respect Rey, but I just, man, I was not into this at all.
Well, were you into the main event where John Cena defeated Triple H by submission to retain the WWE title?
I was all right with it. Yeah, I was all right with it. I think Shawn Michaels the next year was like, "Hey, Triple H, hold my beer."
But he does that a lot to Triple H, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I was all right with it. I was okay with it. You know, this was kind of the window of Manias where I did kind of like, I still paid attention and I followed the dirt sheets and things like that, but I was kind of watching wrestling from more of afar to anything prior to like 20, and then I kind of got back into it with Michaels and Taker at 25. So I feel like 22 through 24, I've obviously seen all these Manias. I've watched them multiple times. I have a fair judge of them, but in real time, at the time, I was a little stepped back. That was kind of my window of stepping back from wrestling in my life, if you know. That makes sense.
Absolutely. We all step away. Something draws us back in. Now we're on podcast talking about it.
Exactly. Right.
A weird way to go about it, but we're here. We'll jump ahead
Speaking
6 years.
I was going to say, speaking of talking on podcasts, Donnie, before we go too far ahead, there's a testament. We were talking last week, greatest WrestleMania match of all time. You said it, Mania 25.
Yeah.
John versus Taker.
Sure did.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't losing that argument as far as like actual in-match work goes.
Pure graps. No, nothing's touching it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to jump ahead 2012. The Raw after WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar returns to WWE for the first time in 8 years. One of the biggest Raw after Mania moments. Everybody was happy to see Brock, and then he lost to John Cena immediately.
Yeah. Yes, he did. Extreme Rules match, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah. Incredibly good match.
It was.
But the whole lead up for WrestleMania 29 is Cena's had this horrible year. Worst year of his career. Caused him to get divorced because he lost to The Rock. Have him lose to Brock. That makes sense.
Yep. Part of the reason why nowadays, you know, when John Cena's leaning into these discussions he's having with the crowds of why he did what he did recently, I would say this match is kind of the match with Lesnar is kind of one of the reasons why we feel the way we felt about Cena.
Right.
You know?
I can't argue that.
taking all my boy CM Punk's main events when he was the WWE champion.
Yeah, CM Punk's the world champion, and I think he main evented what? Actually main evented like 3 pay-per-views in the 16 or 17 months he was world champion.
I mean,
Cena was
maybe.
having matches. Cena was having matches with the Big Show, with John Laurinaitis in Big Show's corner, main eventing events over CM Punk, who's the WWE champion. Make it make sense.
Big Show was unusually very involved in that span of time for Cena.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like, first Mania match, if we're tying this all in, right? Cena, Big Show, whatever. Maybe he's holding a grudge. Maybe there's like some kryptonite in that fist that he was cocking every fucking week. But like, man, I didn't put that together for the life of me. It was just Big Show. Just he's there, he's face, he turns heel again, punches someone in the face, choke slams another dude. Like, it was a very, very weird time. With the world's biggest tumbleweed.
Laurinaitis main events a pay-per-view over CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What are we doing?
And yes, Donnie, I know Daniel Bryan. I'm a mark, but
yeah, come on, man. All right, what we got for the last one?
Last one is WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, Florida. This is the show that had the return of the Hardy Boys, and them winning the Raw Tag Team Championship in a 4-way ladder match featuring the Good Brothers, Enzo and Cass in the bar. One of the greatest pops of all time, especially because I don't think anybody expected it, because the Hardys were doing ladder matches against the Young Bucks like that day, I think. And like there was so much they were doing that weekend. They were ROH Tag Team Champions, I think, until the night before that day. And then they show up and blew the roof off the place, even though there was no roof.
Yeah. I mean, when you look back at Manias, right? I feel like that Hardy Boys return could be the greatest return of all time at Mania. Cody, maybe?
Yeah.
What do you think, Cody?
Yeah.
It's Cody or them, right?
I just got done watching the Cody return from 3 years ago, so
yeah,
it's hard to put up against that.
I think
it's really the Hardys or Cody, right? Those are the two choices, right?
I think
for like best return.
Maybe Warrior.
Sorry, I'm gonna
8 Warrior at 8. We're going old school here. I'm an old man, so I can talk old school Manias. You talking Warrior when he helps Hogan?
That's like the only one that you could possibly put up there, but even then they botched the hell out of it, and Sid had to kick out of the leg drop. And
yeah, man, for me it's I feel like 10 years from now, if we get on another pod 10 years from now, we'll probably be viewing the Cody return a little differently. Because I mean, it's already one of the greatest, but I feel like his trajectory, like it's going to be a seminal moment. But the Hardy Boys or him, I feel like are like without question the top 2, right?
Yeah, I think for the actual pop that you get, the Hardy Boys pop was bigger. So like in that exact moment, it felt bigger. But knowing what we know now and what we will know again going forward, it's got to be Cody from a significance perspective, even if it's not as big of a pop, I would say.
I would agree. Yeah.
But other matches on the card, Randy Orton would defeat Bray Wyatt in the Spooky Bug match for the WWE Championship.
Bray, man,
deserved better always.
Should have beat Cena.
Should have beat Cena.
Should have beat Taker.
Should have been the
really
beat Taker. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Agree. I feel like when we look at Bray. When we look at Bray as a whole, I feel like he should have beat Taker. I feel like that was really the moment where I'm not going to consider it a missed opportunity because I feel like that's strong, but I feel like he should have been the guy that took it. It's the correct
passing of the torch moment, I think, you get out of that over what we got instead, right? Like I don't feel like the result that we got with Brock going over necessarily accomplished anything outside of giving him a loss. Brock didn't.
To me, it feels like Taker the first loss of Taker, and I don't hate the Brock Lesnar choice. Like I'm fine with it. I'm not one of those people
it makes sense. He's the most legit person to ever be in professional
Agreed.
Correct.
Agreed. Like it makes like I don't look back on it and I'm like, oh, that was a waste. I don't view it that way. But to me, I feel like the perfect Taker loss should have been to Bray, or it should have been to Roman, like he lost to Roman, but that should have been the first loss for Taker, was
Right.
to Roman. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I feel like that's how they should have went about it, but they chose a different way. Again, I don't hate the Brock choice.
No, neither do
but
I.
I feel like Bray was the right choice, but secondarily, do what you did with Taker and Roman, but Taker and that should have been his first loss, not his second.
Right.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of alternate realities for that ending of the streak that played out within the course of 5 years. Like, right, there wasn't nothing wrong with the Brock choice because he's fresh out of UFC. Like, you could easily peg him as the dominant forebearer of the Undertaker going forward, and he pretty much was. Like, he was Universal Champ for 500 plus days, kind of ran a proto part timer schedule with the belt, did all that shit, and then with Bray Wyatt, like, right, he would have been also an excellent choice to end the streak for the obvious reasons, right? Like, he took the torch that Taker very well lit and kept for, decades, right? And with Roman, obviously, like, given what he became, I feel like you would have lent a lot more to Roman's legacy and his legitimacy going into his tribal chief run had he
If
been
Roman
the one
beats him
to.
and then immediately bemes the tribal chief, that's where I say Roman should win.
I still think to this day, and and Roman has obviously, with the bloodline and the tribal chief, he is cemented himself as one of the all-time greats, no questions asked.
Right.
I still think to this day his best promo was the night after that Mania, where he only said one line. But I still think it's one of his best, if not his best promos, where he just said, "This is my yard now." And he did it, and he stood there in the middle of the ring and took everything that the fans had to give him. Everything for minutes.
Yeah.
And he just stood there and said, "This is my yard now." And the second he said it, the fans were like, "Oh, fuck you, buddy." And he just stood there and took it like a champ.
Just
And
soaked.
I still think it's his best promo ever. I really do, even though he's done great stuff currently as the Roman, he's put on great promos as the Bloodline Tribal Chief Roman. I still think that's his best promo. The one line, I still think it is, because
It was
he was
promo
so
of the
good.
year in 2017.
Yes, it was incredible. One line, and he fucking killed it.
What's funny too about that is like it harkened back to the very first promo that Roman did on main roster WWE when he's sitting with the Shield, and it's Dean and Seth just yapping on about shit about oh, I didn't work for Punk, da da da, and then they finally get to Roman, who hadn't said shit that whole time, and they're like, Roman, we want to get your thoughts on this, and then Roman just pans his head up, looks him in the eye, sits there for a second, goes, when I want to say something, I'll say it. Yep. And that was it. I was sold on that motherfucker from that. I'm like, he's got to be big. Like,
yeah, 1,000%.
But that's the kind of Roman Reigns I always wanted. That's the kind of Roman Reigns we eventually got. But it took a bit of baptism by fire, man.
Mm-hmm.
It took him saying to Vince, "Let Paul Heyman and me do everything for my character. Don't fucking touch it." But we talked about the main event here. Roman Reigns defeats The Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match, giving Taker only his second ever loss. It looked like it may have been the retirement. Turns out it's not. One other match I want to go over was Brock starting his 500-day reign by defeating Goldberg in a 5 to 6 minute absolute banger of a match.
Great match between Lesnar and Goldberg. Perfect match.
Yeah,
between Lesnar and Goldberg here.
They made up for what happened at WrestleMania 20 in the perfect way. But we'll jump ahead. There was one more Mania on this day, WrestleMania 39, Day 2. And boys, that's in my list for top Manias as a whole. Mania 39 is fantastic.
39's great. I feel like Day 1 trumped Day 2 by a significant margin, but 39 is one of the better ones for sure. I assume that'll be in the discussion when we dive into the best.
We're actually going to jump right into it. That's my little segue there. So, I think there's a definitive number one right now for top manias.
Ooh.
Um,
I want to see if we all have the same. Are we all around the same age? Not that age matters, but are we all around?
so I'm the youngest, like I said before.
Yes.
I turned
Yes.
29 in 2 weeks,
Yes.
or 3 weeks, I should say.
Okay.
Brandon is 34,
35.
35.
I
You
just
sons of
turned
35.
bitches.
Oh yeah.
I
You
just turned
sons of bitches.
38. So
I'll get there.
I'm close to you. I just turned 38
Yes.
a month
I
ago.
turned 40 in May, so
Yeah,
I'm
so-
close to the big 4-0.
Yeah, we're close enough.
Okay, good enough. I'm interested to see if we all agree what number one is.
Look, so I have some biases for my list. Of course, this is a completely biased thing. I think Brandon, Donnie, and I might have a similar number 2 or 3 because this podcast started because we all met last year at WrestleMania 40.
Hell yeah!
Sure did.
Last year was a great WrestleMania.
I mean,
Sure fucking was.
Yeah, it was. It was a good one. It was a good one. It's not on my top 5, but it was a good one.
Oh.
But it could be sentimental to you guys, though, so I understand.
it is my number 3 in my top 5. If I were to
That
say,
is,
I have
I respect it.
I have 6 manias listed because my 5 is kind of a 5A 5B situation.
That's fair. That's fair. I have 6 as well. I have a top 5, but I have 6 in my wheelhouse.
I would think my number 2 is probably a little more subjective, but I mean, so the first Mania that I got to see live was Mania 30. That's not on my list. That's probably my number 6-ish. But I mean, if we're talking like best Mania of all time, I might be the young guy of the group, but it's X7, and there's no question.
Yeah,
That is my number 1.
It's my number 1 too, and it's not particularly
Yeah.
close.
I have WrestleMania 19 kind of close. But yes, X7 for me is without question the best WrestleMania of all time.
It's a show where you could show somebody who doesn't know wrestling, be like, just watch this, and they'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we talked last week with our Rivals episode about Austin and Rock, and while the turn for Austin was kind of misjudged and mistimed, it's still an insane moment to end that show.
I think what happens after WrestleMania with the Austin turn, listen, yeah, I agree. The Austin turn did not work the way that it was intended to work as a whole, right? But in the moment at WrestleMania, it fucking worked. You know what I mean?
I mean, nobody saw it coming. It was pre Dirt Sheets era. I mean, there were Dirt Sheets, but they're definitely not spread out like they are now.
Yes, and I feel like in the moment, if we're judging it just based, we're talking about WrestleManias right now, right?
Mm.
Not
Is there?
We can't. So then, for me, if we're talking about WrestleManias and WrestleMania moments, we can't take what happened after WrestleMania into account. So for me, even though the heel turn didn't turn out to be good or as good as maybe we thought it was going to be, in the moment at that WrestleMania where Stone Cold aligns with Vince McMahon, it is what the fuck, you know? And that's why I think we can't take into account what happens after. That's why I feel like this needs to be a top moment, because it is in this moment objectively.
Yeah, without question.
It ended the Attitude Era. It's the moment that ended the Attitude Era, and that should be taken into account as well, because Stone Cold shakes hands with the devil himself.
His ultimate rival. His ultimate rival.
Reflecting on today as well, like people talk about, there's blurbs in certain, forums or whatever about how Cena's turn is roughly comparable, and people are like, oh, well, no one saw this coming, and blah, 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 in spite of, But here's the thing with both Cena and Rock and with Austin and McMahon, the clues were there, both. With Cena going into the presser after the Rumble, talking about how he's effectively putting himself in these high stakes matches because he says it's best for business for him to main event WrestleMania and to go against the WWE champion and to win number 17. That's his whole thing. When you look at Austin, it's a similar tone of desperation when he's going up against The Rock. You know, he's obviously getting more frustrated. He's, you know, got the whole shit with Deborah was going on, but we'll just call it what it is. Bam, non-factor, right? To quote that immortal fucking promo between Rock and Stone Cold with Jim Ross as moderator. And when you have Austin saying to The Rock's face that I need to beat you, Rock, I need it more than you can ever imagine. And that's Austin saying that, coming from a place of desperation against another man. That, to me, in hindsight, especially when you compare it against the Cena turn, kind of told you everything you needed to know about Austin's willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to win the championship. I mean, he was pulling out the fucking the $1 million dream in the match itself. So it's Austin digging into, I mean, I couldn't remember the last match I seen Austin pull out anything like a submission. I mean, my memory banks probably are kind of eroding a little bit. But when you're pulling out all the stops,
probably be WrestleMania 13, or if before that,
right. Listen,
Survivor Series 96.
WrestleMania 13 is such a terrible WrestleMania, but it has, in my opinion, the greatest WrestleMania match of all time with Brett and Austin. That is,
I thought you were going
for
to talk
me,
about Sid and Undertaker. Where
listen,
Sid,
and I'm a Sid guy. I fucking love Sid. I'm a Sid guy.
Rest in peace, Sid.
R.I.P. Man, should be in the Hall of Fame.
Overdue.
Dude, we'll get there. But Austin and Brett at 13. Oh my God, it's a masterpiece. But when we're talking about listen, this is the two biggest guys. You can argue that this is the two biggest guys in the history of everything, and they main evented WrestleMania in the second of what would be their trilogy. And the My Way Limp Bizkit video package is the greatest wrestling video package of all time. It's what everything. Yes, it's what everything is measured to. Limp Bizkit was there live performing at this WrestleMania, which also
if you have Limp Bizkit on the Mania, you're in for a pretty good Mania.
You are. This is. And like, I know we're just talking about the main event here, but this WrestleMania is solid from top to bottom. Like,
you
this
get one
is
of the greatest pops ever before the main event with Lyndon McMahon just standing up.
Correct. Shane versus Vince is a great moment and match. Obviously, the TLC match we'll talk about. The triple threat match for the Hardcore Championship is fucking amazing.
Very understated.
Almost
very
ruined
understated.
Almost ruined the show.
Yes, but it is so good. It's like my third favorite match on this show. It is so good. It's just a great Taz has a moment. And as an ECW kid, I love Taz. Taz has a moment on this Mania. This Mania is perfect. As perfect as you will ever get as a WrestleMania.
I might be misremembering, but does this have the Eurocontinental triple threat as well? That's pretty good.
Wait.
I don't think it
No,
does.
I think that's a different one. I think that's a different one. No, this doesn't.
Usually Donnie has cards up. Donnie, do you have the card up?
Which one? Sorry.
No.
This has the Gimmick Battle Royal where Bobby Heenan was on and I love Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan was on commentary for the last time ever with an Iron Sheik. Won the Gimmick Battle. He could barely move.
He won because he couldn't go over the top rope.
Exactly. Bobby Heenan and Mean Gene are on commentary, and Iron Sheik's walking to the ring, and Bobby Heenan goes, by the time Iron Sheik gets to the ring, it's going to be WrestleMania 37.
Yeah, I've got the whole card up here. So this one had a very unique element to it that not a single title was retained during this show, but we had X Factor over Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay, which was an interesting tag team.
Hey, Grandmaster Sexay has one of my favorite pops too, where he gets an anti-pop when he returns 2011.
I was going to say, what pop are we talking about?
Oh, sorry. And then the opener, was the first. It was the only successful title defense, which was Chris Jericho over William Regal. That's what started the actual show and wasn't part of the kickoff.
Was that the IC title?
Yeah, that was for the IC title.
Yeah. So then your Continental would have been 2000.
Yeah. Then we went to Taz and the APA beat Right to Censor. Kane defeated Raven and the Big Show in a hardcore triple threat.
Oh, match rules.
It was
That's a
very
great
good.
match.
Mhm.
It's so
Yeah.
fun.
It's
And
great.
it almost ruined the show. For
Yeah.
those listening that don't know, there's a part where they're driving, golf carts, I think?
Yes.
And it's supposed to go on for longer, but Raven kind of turns and kind of gets the tire stuck in this little crevice. He was like millimeters away from a table that would have turned off the show.
Yeah. Go out of your way to watch this match, guys. Like, if you've never seen this match, it's like 10 minutes long. It's great. This is a very entertaining, great match between these three guys. It's so good. I just watched this like a week ago. It's
I'm
so
glad
good.
Raven gets some
This match.
shine. 'Cause
I
Raven's
love
another
Raven,
those
one of my all-time.
underrated.
Like I said, I'm an
Yep.
ECW guy. I fucking love Raven, and yeah, man, this match is great. This is a very fun match.
Raven's a very underrated character.
Yeah, that's
Ever,
something
yeah.
you
Mensa
see
member too.
throughout his
Legit
career.
Mensa member.
Eddie Guerrero won the European Championship by defeating Test. Then we had the great match where Kurt Angle defeated Redacted. That was a
Yeah.
very, very good match. China defeated Ivory for the Women's Championship. That was probably
Was Ivory in the right to censor at that moment?
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had Shane McMahon defeat Mr. McMahon. We talked about that pop a little bit earlier. That was a Shane McMahon special. Like Shane, that was right in that era where Shane McMahon just was willing to throw his body into the wind to do whatever he had to do. And that coast to coast
Through the wood chipper.
on Vince was great.
Yes.
And I think
it's a good match. It's a good
I think
match.
it's fun to think about this. This was pre Here Comes the Money. They both came out to No Chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good match, guys, between these two. This is
Yeah.
legitimately a good match.
Yep.
Shane, Shane had no business being as good as he was. Had no business. Literally had no business. And,
I mean, we were just talking about Mania 33. He has the best match on that card with AJ Styles.
1000%. 1000%. Like, just, Shane is one of those guys where I will always love Shane and respect Shane, regardless of how, he goes down in history. He had no business being as good as he was, and I feel like he did it purely to prove to his dad.
For
I feel like,
game.
yes, like I feel like the whole time he was like, "Hey, Dad, I want you to approve of me," and he did all these things to kind of prove to Vince, like, "Hey, there's layers to it." But
yet,
I just,
Yeah.
And the irony is his last Mania appearance was him being too much like his dad.
blew out his knee,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
And before
boy.
that, his last
Was
appearance
Mick
was the Rumble in 2022 that he booked and got himself fired for booking.
Yeah, Mick Foley was a special guest referee in this, right?
He was. That's
Yes, he
correct.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Then we had the TLC match for the tag titles. Like I don't even need to go
The
into
spear,
detail
man.
about that, but
No, the Edge spear is just a. Oh man!
it will
Now that there's
always
really ought to
matches
be an
be-
going
iconic
into the
piece.
Hall of Fame, this is going to be one of the matches going into the Hall of Fame.
Has to. This is still to this day the greatest tag team match that has ever existed.
Agree.
That has ever
I-
existed.
I disagree.
That's fine. That's fine. But for me, this match changed tag team wrestling forever.
It did.
Forever.
I will agree with that, but there's a match that happened in the last 5 years for tag team. That's just perfect.
I love tag team wrestling. I'm a sucker for it, so I'll talk all day. So I'm ready,
So I'll give you. This is my favorite match of all time: Hangman and Kenny versus the Bucks.
Terrific.
Revolution 2020
Terrific.
is just
Terrific.
a perfect match.
I don't disagree. AEW has put on some bangers for tag team matches early on.
Yeah, they need to. That's another episode where you're welcome to come on again.
I will come on as I'm enjoying the hell out of this. I will come on whenever you need me.
It's important to preface early on. Sorry, I didn't mean to shit on AEW in the middle of your love fest there, fellas.
Yeah.
But
We all have our
Yeah, you
opinions on
This is
it,
a
so it's all
Mania
good.
show. We'll
It's all
talk
good.
Manias.
Yeah.
We're good.
The Mania
We're
show.
vibing. We're okay.
But
We're okay.
Then we
we'll jump
got
ahead to the next match. We got the Gimmick Battle Royal.
yeah.
But
Oh,
we're talking
Bobby Heenan.
trilogies. There was a match that started a trilogy on this Mania that's a trilogy that's not even thought of as a trilogy. Undertaker defeated Triple H.
It's a good match. It was a good match.
It was a good match.
Neither of these guys at that time were known to put out like great wrestling matches, and this one was very solid, I think.
Well, this is Jean Jacket era Taker too. He had something to prove.
Yeah, I agree. Listen. Obviously, everyone refers to. Listen, I feel like as a pure wrestling match, obviously this is the best of their three.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Hell in a Cell with Michaels is like the most memorable of their three. But this is a great match. This is like a great wrestling match.
When we talk matches, we talk pure graps, we talk sports entertainment, and then we talk the mix of the two. This is good for pure graps. You want a mix of the two? Hell in a Cell. You
1000%.
want more sports entertainment? Go to 27.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that notion. 1000%. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, then we have the main event, which again we spoke about. One of the, I would definitely say the most shocking ending of a WrestleMania. Maybe not the most well received, but definitely the most shocking ending, and that still stands to now. I mean, we had the crazy ending that we did last year at Mania 40, but that I wouldn't say is as shocking as the Austin turn at 17.
So. Yeah, I feel like Austin aligning with McMahon was very. Even me, I didn't see that coming.
No.
Okay, so we all could like Brandon. I don't recall. Did you specifically say like 17 is on the top of your list too, or did you have a different one on the top?
It's near the top of my list.
Oh,
I mean, if we're talking pure, like
that's mental.
yeah, it's very, very close. Don't get me wrong. Like it's probably like I said, it's around the time
like normal where you say some is your number one like WrestleMania 3
be a contrarian shithead or something.
Whichever had the most TNA influence into it. It was the one that Brandon puts as number one on his list.
Stay tuned. WrestleMania 41's on the way, boys. No, they probably got too much going on with Unbreakable and Rebellion and all that shit. But I mean, I personally, my sentimental favorite was 21.
That's
because I mean, all around it was a very, very good WrestleMania. It was a very good WrestleMania, and I mean, when you look at all that came before, like X7, obviously, like even 18, 19, 20 to a lesser extent, like they're all kind of like the latter bastions of the Attitude Era, right? And the echoes of that and the impact of it. And then now with 21, it's really like, okay, we got to not pull some shit out our ass, but we got to follow that up. And I thought they did a really good job.
This is the first Ruthless Aggression Mania.
Yes.
Effectively, yeah. So, I mean, like, right, you never had tag champs facing each other before and Ray and Eddie, but, two perfect opponents one-on-one any given night. I mean, Halloween Havoc should have showcased that for everybody, and they didn't lose a beat since then.
I'll
the first Money in the Bank match.
Because the match is great, but Ray wore a mask that's like too big, so he's messing with his mask all the time in this match.
The Ray's mask being messed up hampered the match a bit. Still a good match.
It did hamper it. Right. Yes. I mean, it's still Ray versus Eddie. Like, you can't fuck it up. I mean, if you're going to fuck it up at all, that's the way to do it, apart from like a broken leg or some shit. But, it's still...
Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels in this. Yeah,
You want to talk about pure graps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I would definitely get to that. I'm just saying, like, this card is loaded with great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the first Money in the Bank ladder match, which was an experiment at the time, which obviously paid huge fucking dividends. And you have how many copycats out there now that are trying to emulate the impact and just the hype behind that match and the after results,
I think all the Canadian content in that match, I think it was the Canadian content that carried.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Without a question, Donnie. Absolutely. I'll take your word up and down for that one.
No, I mean, you had Edge, Chris Jericho, Redacted, Christian, right? 4 of the 6 guys in that match were, the pinnacle of Canadian wrestling at that time.
And then you had
Yeah,
one of the most underrated guys and a guy who should have been world champ, Shelton Benjamin.
Wow. We'll agree
I
to
mean, yeah,
disagree on that
we
one. And
said our
Kane,
piece about that guy.
yeah, and Kane
We
is
love
always a
Shelton.
good hand. So
We love Shelton Benjamin. We love Shelton.
we sure
Oh, we do.
We
We do.
just have a difference of opinion sometimes on whether he should have actually won the main title or not, and that's
That's
okay
fair.
to have those
That's fair.
opinions.
That's fair. It is. It is.
Sometimes
You
a hair
had-
dye
but-
isn't enough.
Yeah. I was very into the Undertaker Orton feud here.
This was the
Yes.
first time the streak was really like
It really
top.
was. Yes. And I
And-
feel like this
Yep.
was the catalyst to the streak being as important at Mania as like titles. And I feel like
Yep.
this was the first time where it was like, ooh, this young stud, Randy Orton, is like, he could beat The Undertaker. Like,
Legend
I
Killer
believed
rules.
Orton could have beat him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Legend
Um,
Killer
it was-
Orton rules. And
Yeah.
I'll give
Yeah.
a hot take right here. I know the hot take emporium is not open, but burning my light over voices any day.
Don't let Marta ever
Okay.
hear you say that. Marta will
Okay.
not be a happy woman if
Okay.
she hears you say that. We were actually
Fair.
watching 21 last weekend, but we were playing some board games. It was on the background, and she heard Randy Orton's theme, and she's like, "This is not a good Randy Orton theme." So that's what you're
Wow.
fighting
That's
against. When you
Randy
tell
Orton
Marta
theme.
that.
Wow.
Oh, now you two got something to fight about in Vegas, there, Pierce.
There you go.
So
You can tell her that.
casually bring it up. Casually bring it up after a hurricane or two. You know.
She's already getting testy, even just bringing it up now. She has a very strong opinion on that. You're not going to tell her otherwise.
Oh,
I just nostalgia. I love burning my light so much.
I also like it, but don't tell anyone.
I'm telling
I mean, with-
everybody.
but no, that Randy Orton feud, fellas, like that was Legend Killer Randy deep in the tour. He had shirts. He had all the stops he made on the back. And this is right where you felt like the streak was something that could stand to be lost. And I mean, when you're going to start there with Randy Orton, you couldn't have picked a much better opponent.
Yeah.
Trish
And
versus Christy was,
I actually want to bring up one more thing. You get like the first ever real RKO out of nowhere from the chokeslam spot.
yeah, start to showcase the versatility of it. Well, I mean, you kind of had that a little bit with like Orton's world title win too at the end there. A little bit, like there was hint of it, but yeah, I'd say that it was definitely if you're talking about the highlight reel of the match, that was definitely the top spot for my money. I mean, yeah, Trish and Hemi was, I felt like, you know, Christy was kind of the underdog trying to come up against Trish, but that ultimately failed, which go figure, right? But Trish was firmly dominant in that point in time, so there was no moving that. Like you said, Jay, Kurt versus Sean, like, I don't know how the fuck, and we've been very, very critical of Meltzer and his opinion on this podcast, but how the fuck you don't rate that match 5 is way the fuck beyond me. It's criminal.
Yep.
And after that, you have a 5-star match in Akebono versus the Big Show in the sumo match.
Oh.
Yeah, I never need to watch that back. I could
This
shit
is-
fast forward
It
that
doesn't
all
take
day.
long.
this-
So
It's too much large man ass for my taste, personally.
This Mania is good. This is like the Hemi and the Akebono show are kind of why it's not in my top 5. And then the John Cena versus JBL match, while fine, it never got to second gear. It only went 10 minutes. Like it just kind of ended unceremoniously.
Yeah,
from-
of the 2 title matches. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
No, I mean, I was just shortly going to say, like, between the 2 title matches, it definitely was the weaker, but I mean, arguably Cena's first title win had the most impact. I mean, you still see in the reels of like, even now when they're showing who Cena had been throughout his whole career, that shot of him diving into the crowd with the big smile on his face, fucking holding the WWE championship. That's when you knew like this era was going to belong to him, in my mind.
For me, what I was going to say is I feel like this Mania, to me, it was a solid Mania, a very good Mania. But to me, this was kind of like, they were like, hey guys, here's a new era. Because they crowned John Cena for the first time and they crowned Batista. So to me, that was like, oh, these are 2 new guys that are becoming world champions, like, hey, these are two of the next guys for the next 5 to 10 years. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it was more of a like an unveil, and that's how I viewed it. Where it was like, oh, these matches and the story and everything that was going on through the Mania was very good. But this is like the crowning of like, oh, this is kind of a new, not generation, but like a new window of WWE, because John Cena and Batista are two younger guys, you as two new champions going into the future, and I felt really good about that with both of them winning.
And the Batista Triple H match goes a little long, but
oh yeah, I mean they all do with those two, right?
It's Triple H and Mania. He always goes long.
The main event, no less.
Yeah.
The story leading into it is one of the best stories they ever did for a Mania.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'll watch that build back any day. I watched that power bomb through the table. I remember watching that shit live. That was like one of the first Raw moments where I really got to like soak it, because my family just got cable around that time finally. So otherwise I was just like SmackDown and I had to catch the Raw rebound or whatever the fuck. But yeah, first time I watched Raw live, I think one of the first times was that moment where Batista had to make the choice and then hit him with the thumbs down, powerbomb Triple H's ass through the table, and then the rest is history.
One of the most satisfying table breaks ever. It is such a perfect table.
Well, it didn't break, it fucking exploded. fucking just cloud of fabric and veneer.
But all right. So I'll go with my number 2. We'll go a little. We went over these two a little long. Let's speed up a little bit. My number 2 is WrestleMania 31.
It's on my list. That's my top 5.
This is like, I've been seeing a lot of flack on Twitter, and I know Twitter is not the greatest place. People are saying that the build for this Mania has been kind of suspect. You know what? Mania had a really, really suspect build. Mania 31. You know what Mania rules? Mania 31.
I fully agree. I think this Mania is strong throughout. I majorly disagree with 3 decisions that happened on this show.
Wow.
But regardless of that, this is a very strong Mania. It's my number 4 Mania of all time. I have it ranked as my number 4 of all time. I think this is very strong, this Mania. The ladder match for the IC title is very good.
So good. Great.
Very good. And Daniel Bryan wins it, and I felt good about it. Luke Harper, God rest his soul, has a great performance in that match. Ambrose looks like he dies. Ambrose, yes. Luke Harper looks like he murders Dean Ambrose in this match. But Ziggler, who is still one of my all-time favorite WWE guys, they just underutilized him forever. That's a great match. The RKO that Randy gives Seth,
greatest RKO ever.
I agree. Seth Rollins also with the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time, and the main event to leave with the title. This was the first great Brock and Roman match, I feel like. Before that happened,
I still think it's their best match.
They were beating the fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Oh, this
SummerSlam
is a great
2022 did it happen? If in defense of best Brock and Roman matches.
Well, this is a great match.
It's a very good match.
I give it to Brock and Roman 1 because they beat the shit out of each other. And the other times they kind of phoned it in. SummerSlam 22 withstanding because there is a tractor involved. And
hey, you were that one, Don.
That was my first ever WWE PLE.
That's a hell of a one to jump into.
Man.
Fuck it.
Sure was. Damn. Yep. With that being said, though, I do feel like Bray Wyatt should have beat The Undertaker, Rusev should have beat John Cena, and Sting should have beat Triple H.
I agree with all 3
Rusev came out in a fucking tank, bro.
Rusev came out in a tank, man. He should have beat John Cena.
A tank that
are you most testosterone-laden shit.
Hey,
are you kidding me?
Let's not forget, he had sex in that tank, too, beforehand, right? Like, he was...
Damn it. What are we doing?
God damn. Is there a more manly entrance in the history of fucking WrestleMania, boys? I don't think there is. For my money,
should have won. For what it was worth, still incredibly fun.
Incredible.
Despite the fact that the NWO were helping Sting, which makes no logical sense. But
At all. At all.
Hey, Vince, I know you're probably not listening, but let it go. You won 14 years ago. Let it go.
Dude. What does it matter if Sting beats Triple H in this fucking match? What does it matter, Vince? Son of a bitch. That is such a wrong decision. What are we doing? Anyway.
You get the final Mania match of AJ Lee. I think, was this Page's only Mania match?
It might be, yeah.
That can't be true.
I think it might be.
I feel like wasn't she in like a battle royal or some type of shit?
Yeah, maybe.
I gotta.
Tyson Kidd and Cesaro were in this. Damn, dude.
Oh, they were such a good team.
They were
Tyson
great.
Kidd.
They were
Tyson
great.
Kidd,
Tyson Kidd,
another
incredible.
super underrated dude.
Yeah, incredible.
And then, yeah, I would agree. Bray probably should have beat the Undertaker. I understand why the Undertaker went over.
Yes.
Even then, super fun match. They had the crab walk and the sit up spot. And then the heist of the century. It's tough. It's a top 3 Mania ending because nobody expected it.
Going back to the Bray Taker thing for me, I don't know. It just gave Rocky 5 to me. You know what I mean? Like the old gun trying to prove he still got it. And then he comes out against a guy who's like in almost every respect is better in that moment. I don't know.
Bray carried the feud. Taker was not on TV the entire feud, and Bray carried it the entire time.
And it's really a catch-22 either way, because like, right, you said it too, Jay. Like Bray should have beat Cena at 30 the year before, and now Bray's 0-1 at WrestleMania. So now you put him against Taker, who arguably he should have beaten from the very get. And then what do you do, right? You have Taker lose for a second straight year in a row, and I'm sure people were still I shouldn't say they probably were. I was there. They were still sore as fuck after Brock beat Taker the year before. So like it doesn't matter. Like whoever wins, like I feel like they kind of both lose in a sense. You know what I mean? Because like it's Bray tarnishing the legacy of Taker if he wins. It's Taker stifling this young growth when he won. I don't know. That whole thing just kind of
stifling Bray Wyatt as he always did.
Yeah,
that was just it was just a case of a perfect potential match in the worst possible spot.
Also, Taker, like daytime manias are cool. I'm excited for this mania to be a daytime mania.
Yeah, they are. They're. It's great to be out in the daytime watching a mania and get out at a reasonable hour. Like very underrated perk.
JPJ, have you been to a daytime mania before? Or?
I haven't been to a daytime. I traveled to Dallas for 32. Awful mania. What a terrible mania.
Yeah, that's in my bottom 2.
Brutal. Let me tell you, brutal. However, it started earlier in the day because it's like Central Time, but it wasn't really like a daytime mania. So that's the furthest I've been for a mania.
So we'll talk about 32 for a second. The reason it's so bad is because until Roman wins, all the heels win. And the reason they did that, now looking back, is to try and get Roman cheers. It wasn't going to work. AJ should have beat Chris Jericho.
Correct.
The League of Nations should not have beaten the fucking New Day.
Correct.
That makes no sense.
Really, the only good moment of that show was Zack Ryder winning the IC title. Like that was the only like memorable. I mean, Shane jumping off the cell, yes, but we've seen that before.
We've seen that 30 minutes. It should have went.
Yeah,
10.
like we've seen that before. Like it was a great moment. Don't get me wrong, but like we've seen it. I feel like the only memorable moment of that Mania title.
The women's match on it is great. But
that is a great triple. No, that was a great
Banks
triple threat. Yes, that was a great triple threat. That was a great triple threat. So that's the best match of the show.
But the last 2 matches go 30 minutes, and they should not have gone 30 minutes.
It was brutal. The Triple H Roman match went like over 40 minutes or something like that. It's just unnecessary.
That I'd say is probably the worst main event in Mania history.
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
And then you have The Rock taking up 30 minutes too when he needs to take up.
Yeah,
And
And
then
then he
Eric
wrestled-
Rowan and The Rock have a match. Let's
Yeah,
not
for
forget
6
that.
seconds or whatever it was,
That
like
happened.
the quickest. Yeah, for the quickest match of all time or whatever it was. Like it was just kind of a lot of, it was a great experience being there. Don't get me wrong, always cool to be at a Mania, but like it was just like, damn, that was not great. That was not
What
great.
manias have you been to? Have you been to a few or?
Yeah. So I went to 14 in Boston, the Stone Cold era. That was
Wow.
dope. I was a kid there.
Oh,
Though.
hell yeah.
I was a teenager, so my dad brought me. So that was just a dope experience. Like obviously, first time Undertaker and Kane fought. Stone Cold with Mike Tyson there at the time was fucking huge. Like it was Mike Tyson
Oh,
was
god
there.
damn.
Yeah. So Austin, and that's when he won the title. JR. Stone Cold, that shit. Like that was the first. That's when they crowned Stone Cold, who, of all time for me is my favorite. Like him and Macho Man are my 1 and 1A. Like Stone Cold's the dude. Like I was 12 or 13 when he in like 98, and like that's the wheelhouse. And I was like, this guy fucking rules. You know what I mean? So I was able to be there because it was in Boston, and that's where I'm from. So that was dope. I've been to 32 in Dallas. And then I went to 35 in New York. So I saw terribly long WrestleMania. But
Nice
there were like
7-hour
3.
show.
Yes, but Seth beating Brock fucking ruled. Kofi winning almost made me cry, and Becky winning was awesome. So like the moments for that were super memorable, but it was just way too long. But it was great being there.
Hey, you got to see Kurt Angle's last match, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I did. I'm a bit. I actually am a pro Baron Corbin guy. I actually
Hey,
think
we
he
all
was
are.
like
You're on the right podcast. You're on the
we
right
all
podcast.
underappreciated. Baron
Baron
Corbin.
Corbin.
He's underappreciated. But yeah, man. Yeah. The Batista Triple H match on that show was like, what the fuck?
Hey, you got Steve Batista's last match too. That's pretty cool.
I did, but it
Yeah.
was like 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, give me what I
Yeah.
want. That's not what I want. Like one of the best
Yeah.
promos that whole year.
Yeah.
No, you want
Yeah.
to talk about best promos that year for that build-up. They had Batista go out on Raw. He points to the screen. They show him beating the shit out of Triple H, and he just goes, "Hunter, kiss my ass."
Yeah.
And then it hits the.
I'll
Yeah.
walk for miles.
One
You
of
wanna
the
talk about-
all-time great entrance themes.
Yes, Brandon likes his other theme better somehow, but
What?
The instrumental theme just gets a little more visceral. You know what I mean? I mean,
All right.
nothing wrong with the
I get
vocal
it.
track at all.
I get
There's
it.
just something about. There's
We
something
could do
about.
we could do a completely different show on theme music because I could go deep.
oh,
Yeah, hey,
I'm in.
I'm down for
just
it.
saying. I'm just saying, guys.
I'm all about the music.
But
Yeah, well,
Fair
we'll
enough.
put it on the schedule.
But put a cap on this, the way that when Batista wins or he ends a segment and it hits that guitar riff, I think that's like the perfect end of any match. They
Mhm.
just hit that so well. Donnie, what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 is the number 1 WrestleMania that I went to, and why I can speak so highly of daytime WrestleManias. That was 39. I got to go to WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles. First of all, like what a great venue to have WrestleMania in. If you ever get the opportunity to go to SoFi Stadium, outside of the city of Los Angeles, out there in Inglewood, what a beautiful stadium that is. I'm really having a high bar for Allegiant in Vegas because SoFi is the best stadium I've ever been to by far.
Is that where
Dude, and
31
that
was
stage-
too, or was that at a different one?
Sorry?
Was 31 at SoFi, or was it at a different stadium?
No,
No, that was
different
where the
stadium.
49 Levi's, right? Levi's
Yeah, that
Stadium.
was
Yeah.
actually in San Francisco. That was the opposite.
Yeah,
end
that's
of-
where the Niners play, I think, right?
Yeah, that is where the Niners.
I
the
will
Niners.
say, I will say 39, one of the all-time great sets of all time.
yes.
Like the stage and everything they did there for 39, maybe the best ever. Like
was a
very
stunning
fucking
good.
set.
surreal.
Yeah.
Yes,
This 39
very
is my
good.
number 4. Just to put that out there, that's my number 4 Mania.
This is right outside my top 5, but that is because even though it worked out at 40, I am still bitter about that decision to have Roman. I'm still bitter.
That's fair.
I will always be bitter. I will
It-
always be bitter. But
It was the best Mania of all time, except for the.
it's very good. This was a very good Mania.
Well, I mean,
Very, very good.
I would say the worst match of the show was honestly the first match of the show. Austin Theory beating John Cena. Like, John Cena did not give two shits about that match, and anybody who watches
No.
that match back, you could tell that was a very disappointing start to what was otherwise a phenomenal night one. That men's showcase tag match that immediately came afterwards was very, very good for what it was. Nobody had any idea that match was going to be as good as it was.
Yep.
Chad Gable giving the his rolling suplex to Braun
Chaos Theory is
Strowman.
the name.
Chaos, thank you. Was just surreal to see. They got a huge pop. Yeah, other guys, like, every tag team showed out in some capacity in that match.
And that match was for nothing. There was no stakes to that match whatsoever.
No tag
That was
match.
just those. Yeah, that was just those four teams going out there and being like, "Look, we're gonna ball out because it's fucking WrestleMania."
Yep.
And that's what they did. It was great.
Then we had Seth Rollins over Logan Paul, and you can say all the negative shit you want to say about Logan Paul, but that guy is damn good in the ring for his experience level, and that was his.
He's annoyingly good, and I've said it once, I'll say it again. Fucking hate Logan Paul as a person, but he's a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah, so like that match was a banger. Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky Lynch over Damage Control. That match was totally fine. Like, I mean, considering the talent that you had in that match, everybody had a pretty good performance there. Nothing too memorable, but I think it was a solid performance by all 6 women in that match. Ray versus Dominic, like, man, Dominic Mysterio's intro to that match, coming out of the police car, was incredible. You know, Rey Mysterio whipping his ass, like, with the belt.
Belts to asses.
Team for a minute.
Hashtag belts to asses.
I'll say this
great
about
payoff.
it. It did not need a fucking Cinnamon Toast Crunch thing everywhere.
Well, I mean, that's, you think that's bad? I mean, we it certainly didn't compare to that. What was that zombie match with Damian Priest and the Miz? Was it where the Miz got eaten by zombies
we'll blame
afterwards?
Vince for that. We'll blame Vince.
Yeah, but I mean, that match was just great. And then Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, like, those were 2 women that were pissed off that they didn't get to main event WrestleMania, and
1000%.
they may very well have had the best women's WrestleMania match of all time there. Like, that match was a banger.
I think this is one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time, regardless of gender.
Yep.
This is one of the best WrestleMania matches ever of all time. It is the greatest women's match ever at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
This match was incredible between these two.
And it's this match. We've had some discussion about the booking going into WrestleMania, and specifically related to this match, who won the Women's Royal Rumble this year. And it's the results of this match that gives me hope that Charlotte Flair winning the Rumble this year will give us a good result at WrestleMania, which is an incredible match between her and Tiffany Stratton. So we'll see how that ends up panning out in a couple weeks, but this match was incredible. We had that whole Pat McAfee beating the Miz thing, and then, you know,
that's a good come down. It pops the crowd. It did what it needed to do.
Yeah. And then the unofficially but official main event. Actually, no, sorry, I'm mistaking that. Sorry. The actual main event, yes, is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeating the Usos, and, like, kind of tying up the loose end to that entire storyline. Was
another match that can be put as a perfect match. It is.
Agreed. So
is so good.
Within the annals of WWE, we talk about WrestleMania tag team matches. I won't argue TLC and its prestige in tag team wrestling as a whole. Never mind for WWE tag wrestling. For my money, this is arguably the best non-gimmicked tag team match. I mean, it main evented WrestleMania. Like, the build for it was great. You had Owens and Zayn with their chronicles of history, right? And they're in PWG territory, right, in Los Angeles. So it's kind of a homecoming for them in a sense, the same way it is for the Usos. And this is when, like, you know, you're starting to see, like, the real, like, the pinnacles, the peaks of the Bloodline storyline. Like, Roman obviously didn't lose his titles, but the Usos were already the longest reigning tag champs of all time. And it seemed like they were damn near unstoppable. And when you have Owens and Zayn on their own, they're both like world champion contenders, right? And they've been tag champs before even, but they've never been a tag team to the level of like a WrestleMania in WWE. So like those two together putting on the clinic that they did against the Usos, who have been, nonstop tag teaming and have only been getting better and better and better as the years went on. And now we're at the top of their game. Like, for my money, it created a match that is pretty much without equal as far as tag team wrestling goes, unless you incorporate, right, like legendary names like the Hardys or Edge and Christian or the TLC gimmick as a whole in and of itself. When you factor in them, Dudley's, one of the greatest tag matches of all time.
And
I think you can make the argument that it's the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time. Like, it's that good.
It's very good.
It's certainly up there. And night two, like there was a lot of things that kind of fell flat. I'm not going to go into the whole list of matches here because night two wasn't as good as night one. Edge defeating Finn Balor was a crime.
So dumb.
That shouldn't have happened.
I mean, I will say night two did have my favorite match at this WrestleMania, though.
Which
that
was
triple threat
the
with
triple
Gunther,
threat.
Sheamus, and Drew, baby. That match ruled.
Oh my God, that was
the
If you'll indulge me
Hell
for
yeah.
a moment. Indulge me for a moment.
Big meaty man slapping me.
Exactly. Oh, this match was for me.
yes.
I loved it.
We are on the same wavelength there, Jay. I am feeling you through the audio.
Yes. I love
Yes.
And what seems to be Brock's last WrestleMania match versus Omos had no right being any good, but again, it was also
big meaty man slapping me.
And it was quite good.
That match was not bad. I'm not hating on Brock and Omos because they did what they needed to do. That's just a case of two monsters getting in 5 minutes worth of work and doing what they have to do and not overstepping their boundaries, right? And then the main event, like I'm happy.
Very, very good
with the
except
result.
for the last 2 minutes.
I'm happy with the result of Roman winning. I think that logically made sense. I was very opinionated in the fact that Cody should not have gone undefeated to end that reign of Roman Reigns. Having Solo be the one who screws him over despite already being kicked out, I thought was a little bit weak. But the right man won and continued what we had through to the next year. So,
I mean, I don't know. I feel like obviously by the time we got to WrestleMania 40 and it went the way it went, fine. I'm all in. I get it. I was bought in. I loved it. I loved WrestleMania 40. Things like that. I just felt like what happened after this WrestleMania was just a bunch of nonsense.
Oh, it was the worst Raw after Mania of all time.
It was just a bunch of nonsense, and I was like, this would have been so much better if Cody Rhodes just fucking beat Roman Reigns for the title. It was literally a hand. Just do it. Just do it. How much more sense would have Cody and Brock all summer meant if Cody was the champ?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
I didn't dislike Cody and Brock without the belt either. I liked that feud. But imagine how much better the feud would have been if Cody was the champ.
Yeah.
And Roman didn't even defend the belt until SummerSlam. So it was like, why? Why are we waiting a year? Now, again, I was happy with WrestleMania 40, and I'm happy where we are now. But I still cannot get over why we just didn't do... Like, sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice. And I felt like Cody winning this match was the obvious choice.
I'll agree to disagree because...
to the point.
That's fine.
I think Bully Ray said it, that if he won at 39, people would have clapped. Him winning at 40, people cried.
Fair. It's fair.
I think Cody Cody had needed some kind of adversity. Yes, he tore his pec, but still won that match. Which, I mean, you can have your own decisions on that. That match was great with Seth Rollins and Hell in a Cell, but like the guy literally
But
had no booking adversity through.
but wasn't Cody Lee? See, here's where I have a problem with the WWE booking, because to me, as a wrestling fan, Cody leaving is the adversity.
That's very fair. But
Like he resigned. Like he asked. They didn't not renew him. He asked for his release and he left. Like, to me, that is the adversity. He was like, I need to leave and reinvent myself to come back and be this guy. That's the adversity to me.
Undeniable.
That is the adversity. I don't know why they refuse to fully tell that story, because to me, that is the adversity.
I mean, it involves bringing up things outside the WWE universe, which I'm
I
sure certain people at the time wouldn't have been a fan of.
Yeah, I don't know. That's to me like, and I'm a wicked pro Cody guy. I'm a Cody mark. You can call me as much as a mark as I am for anything. I'm a mark for Cody. I love Cody. And I loved Cody where he was wearing the mask. I loved all of Cody. And I am very happy that Cody is the guy. And it's clear that Cody is the guy. I am very happy. But to me, like, I felt like during this moment with Cody, when people were saying that, oh, he needs more adversity and stuff like that, I was like, well, he's already gone through the adversity. He literally quit. He quit to go. I saw him in my town perform in front of 78 people when he quit WWE. That is adversity, man.
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair. That's a very fair thing that I didn't consider as part of my my opinion on it. I think it sets a bit of a dangerous precedent if you have a situation like that, and then subsequent people leave, come back, don't get necessarily the same hand, right? Like it's a slippery slope that you run into if you do make that decision. So
I do agree.
You're very true in the fact that like his adversity was the return happening in the first place. I just like, and we see it now, even like if you look at current booking with guys that have either made the jump and then come back, aka like CM Punk, or even just guys who are making recent debuts from the other known company. Like look at how Penta's doing right now. Look at Ricky Saints. Look at Ethan Page. Right, like these guys are continually given the ball and running with it. Right, and I worry that if you go too far with that too soon, it builds that expectation for others that would do the same. Like if someone, let's say an MJF, was to come over, like how do you have him?
That's a very fair point. That's a very fair point. That's a very fair point.
And,
yeah, but
if I may also employ some of the rhetoric that you had spoken about earlier too, Jay. And I was in the same boat with you. I didn't know what the fuck they were thinking because Cody was white fucking hot come WrestleMania 39 time. But then you think about it too, like you said, there's the simple answers are usually, the correct. And that you think about it, if Cody wins WrestleMania 39, you don't get Roman Reigns at 1,000 days. You don't get all the hype and fanfare surrounding that enormous milestone, which I never ever thought I'd see 1,000-day world title reign in WWE. There are a lot of people who should have got it, in my firm opinion, but they never did. And here's Roman Reigns, and he's literally defining an era. So you're building up and you're marching him up to another decennial WrestleMania. And you look at the history of WrestleManias, look at the guys that were crowned at WrestleMania 10 and 20 and 30. And now they need somebody for WrestleMania 40 to follow within that trend. Who better than Cody Rhodes in that instance? You know what I mean? And to build that story. And you look at the Rhodeses in general as well. Like you look at the legend of Dusty and you look at what he represented in overcoming adversity and not, Cody is clearly a different animal, right? Like you said, like people and like, Donnie alluded to, people is kind of, I feel like, expected that. Which, if you're rolling with the expectation, probably not the best for the narrative, especially when you're trying to paint Cody as somebody who is coming up from effectively the bottom. And when you're bringing him, especially when you're bringing him in from AEW too, right? Like, I felt like they did. In hindsight, I felt like the wait was worth it because you did get everything that resulted from Roman retaining. You did get the 1,000-day reign. You did get
You get the final boss.
Yeah, the final
Yeah, you
boss
get-
part of it. Yeah, that is a good. Yeah, like, and
which
that's
almost
why
usurped Cody of that spot. Really, like
it's fair. It's fair. But again, that was a pivot, though. Like, they were gonna go with The Rock until
They
the
were.
fans were like, "No, dude. Like, no, we're not happening. That's
If I
not.
talk
We're
about-
not.
You're
We're not
right.
doing that."
This
you
is
know?
not on my list, and I want to talk about one more like pivot because like we were talking about moments, and like this was just in my mind, and now is like the perfect time to talk about it. Is like the pivoting moment. Personal bias, WrestleMania 18, not on my list of a top WrestleMania, but like
Yeah.
what a pivot in that Rock Hogan match.
Oh, dude.
Like I've never seen even to this day, I can't recall a moment where they just like on the spot had a match that they had completely booked out one certain way. The crowd just totally hijacks it, and they're like,
Yeah.
"We're just gonna run with this. We're just gonna
Yeah.
we got to give
Those
the fans what we
damn
want
Canadians.
here." Yeah, hell yeah, that's what we do,
Yeah,
right?
Toronto.
But
What they used to say, it's a wild world or a crazy world, a different
Bizarro,
world.
Fucking
Bizarro
Bizarro world.
Bizarro world. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So I had to shout that one out there.
Yeah, well, for me, it's the second best Mania match of all time. So,
And our buddy as well as Mania, it's in their top 4.
yeah, 100%. We love Wells. Yeah, I have Austin Brett from 13 as my number 1. This is my number 2. I think Hogan, The Rock, and the crowd is very crucial to that ranking.
Yep.
The crowd is the third character in the match.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's the best crowd moment, I would argue, in wrestling
They've
history.
tried to recapture it, and they never have.
Nope.
They never have. I don't know if they'll ever have a crowd that's so into and so much dictated how a match played out more
And
than
you
in
get-
this match.
You get some of JR's best calls with,
Yeah.
he beat Andre the Giant with that move. Such an amazing call.
Yes. This is pretty close to perfect between these two. And even me at the time, being an older gent, I found myself going into this match rooting for The Rock, but during the match when it played out, watching it live, like I want Hogan to beat the guy. Like I was very much bought into the sway of the crowd with them rooting for Hogan, and it kind of made me root for Hogan more. Now, obviously, I feel a different way about the person, but
fuck Hulk
it
Hogan.
is what it is. But if I'm
We're
talking
on
about
the fuck Hulk Hogan train, don't worry.
yeah, if I'm talking about objectively, like the character stuff and just kayfabe of what I'm seeing, the crowd definitely swayed me to be very pro Hogan during this. It's one of the all-time matches ever.
Yep.
And if I could shit on Meltzer a little bit since we were shitting on him earlier. This match is rated 3 stars. You want to know what's rated better? Moxley versus Cope from a few weeks ago, which has no right to be that rated that high.
No. When Hulk hulks up in this match, it's a top 5 Mania moment ever. When he kicks out and he hulks up, and that crowd is doing what they're doing, and The Rock is also perfect in this because he's The Rock. That is a top 5 segment of WrestleMania of all time. Like, that is just incredible. That whole thing to when The Rock kicks out of the leg drop. That whole sequence is a top 5 thing ever. And it's perfect. It was just perfect. And it's just a thing of beauty.
And we are jumping around from Mania to Mania. 39 is my 4th highest. JPJ, number 2, what do you got?
Number 2, I have 24.
That's my 5A.
I love WrestleMania 24.
It is a damn good show.
Listen, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair speaks for itself. The I love you. I'm sorry. I love you. Should have been the end of, one of those things where if that was actually the end of Ric Flair, I think Ric Flair would have had the most perfect career of all time. That's the end of Ric Flair. That's the end. I'm going to talk about Ric Flair, but that match is tremendous.
You don't like his match with Andrade versus he has a
I was there. I bought a ticket. I bought a
Did you
ticket
really?
to Ric
Oh, man.
Flair's last match. I was in the building, and it was the whole show was all right. The card was good. I had a good time. But yeah, that wasn't great. That wasn't great. Floyd, listen, Floyd Money Mayweather and the Big Show had one of the best celebrity WrestleMania matches of all.
It's so good, and they do a double turn because Floyd's just such a natural.
Yes. One of the best celebrity matches in the history of the company happens on this show. Undertaker and Edge, awesome. Awesome. The Charles Robinson running down the
the
aisle, him getting that WrestleMania moment, Charles. That's one of the greatest referee moments ever. That main event is great as well. Yeah, I very much CM Punk winning the Money in the Bank for the year in a row. Great. Yeah, man, this is just a great Mania. I love it. I love it. It's my number 2. I very much enjoyed it. Randy Orton and Triple H have the triple threat with Cena is very good as well. Very good as well with Orton winning. I think it's a very strong Mania throughout. Batista and Umaga fight. I didn't really care about like the gimmick they gave them, like it was like a battle for brand supremacy or some bullshit. I wasn't really into that part of it, but I thought for as quick a match it was two bigger guys kind of doing what I need two big guys to do.
A really rough Batista bomb there at the end, but he still got him up.
Yes.
Umaga should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way. Super underrated dude.
1000%.
Rest in peace, Umaga.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed this Mania. This is one of my favorites, so I have it at number 2.
Completely fair. Brandon, what do you got at number 2? We already talked about it.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say not to get long-winded, but my favorite my number 2 is WrestleMania 17 for pretty much all the reasons that we went over previously. So next.
Well, I'll jump in. My number 3 is Mania 40. I mean, it's my first ever Mania I was live at.
Yeah.
Has one of the greatest main events, 2 greatest main events ever. I mean, The Rock, Roman, Cody, Seth match had no right. It did it for as long as it went.
45 minutes. And that's not counting the intros.
And that's not counting how
feel like it, though.
cold it was.
Oh, God, it was so
God.
cold.
Yeah, I remember I was up in like the bowl there, like in one of the upper parts of the rowage, and like it was just like a vortex of cold air, just relentlessly just burning down on me. And I'm just sitting there. I did not pack for this fucking show. Like I was just sitting there in my thermal, just with my hood and shit tied up. I'm just like gripping my shit as I'm just like between these 2 Frenchmen and just like trying to keep warm with some whatever kinetic energy was in the stadium at the time.
That was just a tale of 2 nights. Like, we're talking about 39 being 2 different nights. 40 was 2 different nights just by the fucking temperature. Like, holy shit.
Oh, my God.
Night 1 was frozen. And, like, I know they
40
talked
and
about
raining, Jay. It was rough.
They talked about it in the post show. I know, like, you know, Triple H was saying how, like, it's harder to perform when it's that cold. And they understand, like, the crowd wasn't as upbeat as they could have been. And luckily, night 2 was way more bearable. But I could very well see that being an end to outdoor Northeastern manias, because that night 1 was unbearable.
I mean, night 1's opener was great. Ray and Becky tore the house down. The ladder match was fun for what it was. I could have went with out Ray and Andrade winning. Santos to win. Especially because fuck the Eagles. So
agreed.
Jay and Jimmy, it was rough, but that hype package before it was incredible.
Yeah, great package for a dog shit match.
I still haven't watched that match. I was in line trying to get Marta a blanket because it was so cold, and I've never watched that match, heard how bad it was, and have still never watched it.
The hype contrast really is what makes up for it. So
by contrast, I, due to a long piss break and a search for food, missed the Bailey Io Sky match, which was arguably one of the better matches that whole fucking weekend. So
that's like the best match of the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's pretty good.
And then you get the shock win of Sami Zayn defeating Gunther, and I mean,
That was a surprise.
Great match.
great
Terrific.
match.
great match.
Terrific.
I'm glad Sammy brought out the brain buster.
I marked like hell for Brain Buster. I jumped
did
from my
too.
fucking seat for the Brain Buster.
And then night 2 starts off hot as shit. You get the Drew Seth match, which was really fun for how short it was. And then the Damian cash in, which was super hype. I
The
mean,
whole thing was just really fun. Dude, the fucking Claymore right out of the gate. That was, you talk about things that make you jump out your seat. That was probably the second or third thing I jumped out of my seat for that weekend. Because
Yeah.
like I thought it was over right then and there after the mummers and shit. I thought after all that hype and fanfare that we were just gonna see Seth just laid down right there. I mean,
I thought
it-
Sheamus and Daniel Bryan all over again is what I thought we were getting.
yeah, that was I. You know what the bitch of it though would have been though? Like if they would have ended it like that, and it would have been fun if they did. But I see what they did because you look at Seth's world heavyweight title reign, man. Like he did exactly what you or anyone would have needed him to do to establish that championship. I mean, he said it too. Like when he was, Cody was coming down with his choices. The world heavyweight championship, by virtue of Seth's work, was the workhorse championship. Like, and I was very critical of him going over like even Jinder, frankly, but Shinsuke Nakamura especially.
yeah, he should.
Um,
Shinsuke should beat him. But
Yes, I
that
agree.
pissed me off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I agree.
Shinsuke doesn't get that many moments to shine, and for going forward, it doesn't seem like he'll get many more, if any. But if there was any time to probably put him over, even for like a month or two, that probably would have been an opportune time. But I can see why they didn't do it, and that's the bitch of it. It's like right thing, wrong time, because they needed to build that belt, and if they were going to have Seth, of all people, lose that belt at any time, it was going to be at WrestleMania. Same with Roman. Like when Roman won at 39, you knew he wasn't going to lose it till 40. Like that was pretty much written in the stars at that point.
Mm-hmm.
and I mean,
So
we said it last week. We like that main event is like the most WrestleMania match of all time. Like that and Hogan Rock are like neck and neck for being just like this is a match that's going to happen in WrestleMania. It's gonna be incredible from crowd reaction, everything. I mean, the last 5 minutes of that match are like it's crazy to see. Like you get the John Cena, the Undertaker, everything that leads up to it, and then Seth was Cody's Shield, and the whole Roman character is built on the Shield being broken up, and he's never gotten over. And that's a perfect way to end that title reign.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anybody else?
Donnie,
got
what do you
any?
got at number 3?
At number 3, I had 40. Yeah,
Okay.
similar reasons. I think we're gonna have quite a bit of parallels over the last few. I think you and I had 4 out of 5 that were the same. So yeah, I had 40.
Correct.
Okay.
JPJ, what do you got?
My number 3 is WrestleMania 30, the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania.
Man, it pained me not to put it in there. It really did, but like
Yeah. Listen. The Daniel Bryan versus Triple H match is, I mean, that's one of the best Triple H matches of all time. All time. It is so good. And obviously Bryan.
Mania opener.
Oh my God, yeah. And like obviously Daniel Bryan winning the world title in the triple threat in the main event. That's like the moment of the show when he finally wins it.
Such catharsis as a fan because they were not going to do it.
No, they were not. They were not. And like that's such a great moment. Again, when we talk about sets, WrestleMania 30, tremendous set.
The sex letters.
Yes, tremendous. It was tremendous. And that moment of Bryan holding up the titles with the fireworks going off and the set, it's just tremendous. In the moment, I did not take The Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar well. In the moment. In the moment.
So this was the first Mania that I got to watch live. My parents bought me it for my 18th birthday. one of my close friends watched it with me, and he's like, "Hey, let's bet on the matches." I was like, "All right, $100 on the Undertaker." He's like, "That's not fair."
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
paid him.
No. It's one of those things where, like, looking back on it now and, like, I haven't watched it recently, but, like, watching it afterwards, I completely understand now. Like, I
you can
completely
tell the Undertaker's bell was rung. They've
Oh,
had better
1000%.
matches,
1000%. But
it's the moment.
in the moment, I was like, "What? Like, what? What are we doing?" I will say an underrated moment for me in this Mania was Cesaro Andre the Giant.
Oh, yeah.
To me, this is the best Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal they've ever had. And
Agree.
Cesaro winning by just lifting up the Big Show, like, so nonchalantly, by the way, like it was like a regular
Bodying this
feat.
dude.
Yeah, just like a regular thing for him to just lift up the Big Show like a body slam and eliminate him the way he did. I thought that's an underrated moment at this Mania. But for
Yeah.
me, again, John Cena and Bray Wyatt, I liked the match. I thought it was a good match. I just think Bray should have won.
Yep.
But other than that, I think this is a very strong Mania. This, to me, kind of set the path from, like, WrestleMania 30 through the 30s that, like, it was a really good show, and I felt like WrestleMania needed to have a good show because kind of all the shows before it sucked, you know?
Mm.
I feel like WrestleMania 26 through 29 were, like, very awful to mid, and we needed a good WrestleMania. And even though they didn't want to go the route that they ended up going, this ended up being, like, the first great Mania in a while, and it kind of set the pace for, like, more good Manias than not good Manias moving forward, if that makes sense.
That does make
Yeah,
sense.
I agree with
I'd
that.
agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt. So,
I mean, hell, even the Shield burying the New Age Outlaws and Kane that hit the spot for me.
yeah, it's like
They
under
hit the
3 minutes.
Short and
I think
sweet.
they went. I think there was literally under 3 minutes, but it was like it was like, yeah, that works. That worked. That was fun for 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's
You know?
Road Dogg getting his shit in, and then, like, here comes the Shield in their fucking them
Yeah.
sick ass Bone Dog masks and shit through the crowd, and then they just lay these fucking dudes to waste, and it hit the spot for me, man. I was like, these guys are fucking here, and they're gonna tear, and they fucking did. They are the pinnacles of the last 10 to 12 years of pro wrestling, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yep, I agree.
And I mean, harkening back to the Undertaker match with, I bet my buddy, when that 3 count hit, me and him, our jaws dropped.
Yep.
And like a minute later, my buddy goes, that's not supposed to happen. So
Yeah.
that'll be ingrained in my brain forever. And then talking about the second best one was 32 with Baron Corbin. Just want to throw that
Yep.
out.
And I was there live for that. That was one of the bright spots of that Mania.
There's not many bright spots, but that's
No.
like one.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one too. But yeah, I thought Cesaro winning and it was arguably one of the bigger pops, if not the biggest pop of the night, to be honest, besides Bryan winning the world title. When he lifted up Big Show the way he did, that crowd went nuts, as they should have. I went nuts from my couch.
So did I.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
I was such a goddamn Cesaro mark back in the day. I
was too.
before Gunter, man, I wanted Cesaro to have, because you had Honky Tonk Man, who for fucking years, decades, had that longest IC title reign. And the IC title, they kept saying over and over, was the workhorse title. It's for the guys who carry the show based on the merits of their work. And the record is being kept by the most gimmicky motherfucker, arguably, of all time. So then you have this guy like Cesaro, who is this big, sinewy, strong motherfucker, and he fits the spirit of the belt to a T. So I'm like, before Gunter came along and before he had his record-breaking reign, which he so very thoroughly deserved, I might say, that before that, though, I would have wished that for Cesaro. Like, I could have pictured, I had him in my fucking, I was being a mark and I had him in my fucking universe modes in 2K, having like fucking 700, 800 day IC title reigns and shit, just because, like, I felt like he embodied the spirit of the Intercontinental Championship. And I felt like, especially when had those periods where they were trying to imbue the belt with that same spirit again and make it relevant, nearly a main event title, I felt like he could have definitely carried that through. especially riding the wave of momentum he was getting after he was just showing out every other fucking night for no reason, just because he could.
Fully agree.
But alas, in another life, we didn't even get him his longest ROH champion, but that's a whole other can of worms. I'm not going to open.
Of course, you
For the sake-
talk about that.
For the sake of this fucking,
You sicko.
Mark the time,
Just let me
mark the
ta-
time, Brandon.
let me take another shot of vodka here. We'll delve deep.
All right, Brandon, what did you have at number 3?
I mean, I probably would have spoken the same. I probably would have said WrestleMania 30. For a lot of the same stuff we were talking about. AJ Lee winning the Vicky Guerrero Invitational too for the Divas Championship, retaining that against all. I mean, the only really woman of note I feel like in that whole thing was Emma. If you're talking about the quality and how they could have matched up against AJ, the promo for it was actually pretty good though. Like she was coming off hot off that promo she did against the Bella Twins, where it's like a pseudo shoot. It was like what do they call it? It was like a pseudo pipe bomb or something like what do they call it? Oh, that's going to bother me now. They had a tagline for it, like pipe bomb. But it's AJ effectively establishing herself like, I'm over this diva shit and I'm just going to hold onto the belt and there ain't shit you're going to do. And the promo leading into the match was good. The match itself, I could, not as much to say about it, but AJ wins, so I'm happy with it. Yeah, like we've already kind of spoken to all of it, right? I said earlier that Bray should have beaten Cena. Like Miracle on Bourbon Street was fucking amazing. The end of the streak, you can argue about who should have taken it, but I had no qualms with Brock going over because of how he was presented after the fact and given his resume prior, especially against The Undertaker. Like Undertaker, even when they were younger, could never pull it out against Brock. So it behooved me to think, even at WrestleMania, that Taker would somehow just figure out a now, seasoned in the UFC, prime of his life, effectively, Brock Lesnar, even with the diverticulitis, like that. I could not be behooved to think that Taker could dominate or beat Brock Lesnar in any capacity.
Mm.
But that's just me, though. But yeah, like for much of what we already talked about, Mania 30 would probably be my number 3 there. Or are we at 4 now?
So we are at 4 now. My number 4 was 39. We already spoke about it. Donnie, what did you have?
I had WrestleMania 20.
Oh, great one.
And that
That's a great
one,
name.
like we talked about that a little bit before we got on the air. And a lot of people are gonna have very strong opinions about WrestleMania 20, but I think if you just watch the show for what it is and remove all the other stuff that you didn't have the opportunity of knowing because you're not, a medium that can see the future, I think you have I'd say two very strong matches, two other good matches to build on or end cap stuff, and just overall not too many sleepers in there that the main event, redacted, and then 2 matches prior, Eddie Guerrero winning the titles. I think were both great at that time. The return of the Dead Man against Kane, I think, was very good and gave us arguably that was the turning point to the Undertaker's best matches in his career. Subsequent to that, we had a very entertaining match in Evolution versus Rock and Sock. We had John Cena's first championship win at WrestleMania for the U.S. title. And there was other fun matches too.
40?
Chris Jericho. Sorry, go ahead.
The first of 40 title wins for John Cena at Mania?
At least. Rob Van Dam, Booker T winning that Fatal 4-Way. That was fun. The other matches were like the Cruiserweight Open was fun for what it was. It was just a good show. Like
With one real big stinker on it.
Which was?
Brock and Goldberg.
No, it's not the stinker on the match on the card. That's Tori and Sable over Jackie and Stacy Keibler in a Playboy evening gown tag team match. Give me a break.
That Brock and Goldberg match is real bad, man. They didn't know how to book Goldberg when he joined WWE. It took them 12 years to figure it out.
I mean, when you have a match
Yeah.
with that kind of aura to it, you kind of want it to be an extended match.
Right.
And I know your opinion on their history of matches. It's just
But
like when you,
the thing is that the fans in attendance knew Brock was gone and Goldberg was gone. So they turned on it. And that's what really makes the match bad. The Rock Hogan match is as great as it is because of that third person in the crowd. And you want to talk, their match could have been great. I mean, look at 33. That match is incredible. But they just didn't know how to book this, and then on top of it, the crowd just turned on it, and the only person of note in Steve Austin.
it's fair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, low key, like Victoria winning the women's championship was also a deserved moment for her. It's
Put
another
her in the hall soon.
critically underrated woman in WWE history. They really only talk about two women from that era for their actual wrestling ability, being Trish Stratus and Lita. And
She's
I
number
think
3.
Victoria is
Yes.
far too besmirched in that sense because she was very good for a long
Yes,
time.
she should.
And
she
Molly
should-
Holly. We can't forget Molly Holly either.
Yeah,
Molly
Victoria should be
Holly's
in the Hall of Fame.
Molly Holly's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Victoria should
and-
she should be.
100% be in the Hall
And
of Fame.
speaking of the Hall of Fame, this was the Mania where they brought it back. They
Mhm.
didn't do it for like 10 years, and then they brought it back for this Mania. And then have never looked back.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's my number 4.
Jay, what do you got?
WrestleMania 23.
That's my 5B.
Is that your 5B? All right, this
Quite
is
good.
yeah. This one I very much listen. John Cena versus Shawn Michaels in the main event. Just an excellent match. Really, to me, one of John Cena's first great matches. Like truly first great matches against Shawn Michaels in the main event here for the title. Also, Undertaker and Batista, I'm telling you.
So good.
Yes, I feel like, it gets more respect nowadays than it used to, like a few years ago or so. But one of the more underrated Undertaker matches, especially for the Streak WrestleMania match, like this match was incredible. I was not hyped for this match at all. I was not hyped for this match at all going into it. And this is one of the better Undertaker WrestleMania matches, in my opinion.
This 23, and you could put, I'd say 21 to 29, because the Mark Henry match at 22, for what it was actually pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Undertaker matches stealing the show. 22 kind of withstanding, but I mean, I say the Undertaker Batista match is better than Michael Cena. Michael Cena is great, but they have a way better match 2 weeks later in London.
I agree. Yeah, I think the Undertaker and Batista match is the best match on this show. It is incredible. I'm an ECW kid. I'm also a sucker, so them being involved kind of hit. That was like a cool moment for me. The match is, it's nothing spectacular, but I thought it was fine. But I like that. Verdacted versus MVP was a solid match for the U.S. title. That was a good match.
MVP probably should have won there, but it's fine.
I agree.
I
would have had MVP go over as well, but it was a good match. The Money in the Bank match was very good to open the show. Mr. Kennedy, obviously, whatever, however you feel about him, like he didn't.
A good old Wisconsin boy in Hornswoggle.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but it was a good.
Another Wisconsin boy, blue ball in us all. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good Money in the Bank match. Again, I think the Undertaker versus Batista, Michaels and Cena, that to me are two really top quality caliber matches, which makes this a top 5. It was very, very good.
So it doesn't need to be said, but what really makes a good Mania is 2 great matches followed by some filler. And the first Mania to do that was, and even then it's still kind of suspect. but Mania
one, sorry?
23 is
Which one? Sorry, did you say that? I missed it.
Mania 10
Okay.
is like the first great Mania they ever had. And
I would agree.
it's really like two great matches and then some okay matches, the filler. And that's what Mania 23 is, because there is one big filler match that's really, really bad with Kali.
I'm just a big hater
That's
of the
fair.
Great
I'm
Khali.
not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, in the
Damn,
scheme of
hater of Great
in the
Khali.
scheme of things, I don't think it's a horrifically long match. I think it's like under 6 minutes or so. Like, it's not terrible, but at the same time, yes, that match was trash. That match should have
You do get the moment of Kane body slamming him, which is
Yes.
the first time he's been slammed, I think,
Yes.
beside the choke slam. And it harkens back to WrestleMania 3, which is great, but this match just should not have been on that card.
Agreed. And then you obviously had you obviously have the Battle of the Billionaires as well. You have Bobby Lashley and Umaga. You know, you got the president versus Vince in the corner. You know, it is what it is.
One of
But I
them
thought that,
becoming a two-time president is fucking insane.
correct.
So insane.
It's Stone Cold as the special guest referee. So, like, as a spectacle, that again, I was at the time in the moment, I was entertained.
Yep.
I was entertained.
That's fair.
I think
That's
it's
fair.
still. Is it the
And
second highest selling Mania ever before
Up
they
there.
switched to the network?
It's up there, I think. Yeah, that's
It's-
how I try to view things when it comes to questionable people, because as we find out how terrible people are over time and things, I'm like, did I enjoy it in the moment when I was just watching it, not thinking about or worrying
the art
about that
from the
type
artist.
of shit, right? And I was very much enjoyed by the Bobby Lashley Umaga match, and enjoyed by all of it. It entertained me.
It's
It
very
is what it
sports
is.
entertainment.
Do I think both the billionaires are pieces of shit? Absolutely. But it is what it is. But in the moment, I liked it. I'm sorry.
It's sports entertainment at its finest.
Yes, it's a top Mania for me.
It's very much, you separate the art from the artist. That's why you can enjoy the match despite why he's fucking redacted.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we will always say redacted. We all know who he is, and we all know what he's done, and we can appreciate those matches for what they are. But he will always be redacted. So,
I mean,
since
I
day
think
one
Paul
on the
Heyman
podcast,
said it best about him is that as a performer, amongst the 5 greatest he had ever seen, as a person, fuck you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that's okay to have that opinion.
Yeah.
All right, where are we at for number 4? Yeah,
Brandon, what'd you have?
Well, I mean, I feel like
throwing like TNA Unbreakable to try and throw in TNA.
No. No, this predates TNA by a little bit here. WrestleMania 19, I'd say. And not so much for like the entire pay-per-view, because obviously you have you got fucking The Undertaker in a handicap match, though he did have Limp Bizkit come out and perform his song.
It wasn't supposed to be a handicap match.
Yeah, he was supposed to tag
Nathan
with Nathan Jones.
Hey, he made an appearance. Better late than never, right?
Which technically should have been a DQ in the end of the streak.
Right. Yeah. That was a little bit of a that was a clustercluck, but hey, Limp Bizkit.
Roland is the best
Fucking Undertaker
badass theme. I'll argue
big ass American flag out on a fucking Harley and shit. Like, man, few entrances have been more American.
Yeah, he probably got to check off a bucket list item for himself on that one. In fairness.
Oh hell yeah!
Daytime Mania again.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's where Daytime Mania for Taker actually worked. That actually played to his favor. You also had a great triple threat in Trish Stratus, Victoria, and Jazz for the women's championship. That I believe was also in the choices for greatest women's match in WWE history for the Slammy Awards. I don't know if you boys put your votes in, but it was definitely on there. Definitely one of the stronger contenders. You had Michaels and Jericho, which was a good match with a great build.
Such a great story in that match.
Mm-hmm. You had that, and then you had right. We talked about in the moment how you feel about him then wasn't maybe how you feel about him now, but back in the day, man, like I didn't get to really witness 80s Hogan. I didn't even really get to watch all that much of NWO Hogan because I didn't have cable. I wasn't getting TNT. I saw WCW Worldwide on like a Saturday morning or some shit, but I didn't have access to like all the best that Hogan had to offer. But when he comes into WWF and, he's coming in black and white and then later comes back to red and yellow, I'm starting to kind of experience Hogan for the first time in a sense. And the last run wasn't bad, I thought. Like, he had some pretty decent moments. The street fight with Vince McMahon, while probably not the strongest of moments from that part of his career, was definitely something that,
Has
like,
no right
at
being
that point in time, I thought it was fucking great. Like, that's where I kind of started to get more in the backstory of Hogan and Vince. Like, mind you, this was like 2003, I believe. So I was 13 years old, and this shit was just hype for me.
Wasn't the
So,
build-up
because
for like the steroid trial, like Hogan turning on Vince for that?
Yep, sure was.
It's really a four-way match. Hogan, Vince, smoke, and mirrors.
it was definitely my first exposure in wrestling to like that kind of a long-term storytelling. So that's where it kind of gripped me with that. And then of course, Rock and Austin, the end of their era, the end of their trilogy, which was a super solid match. Rock was dominant, and this was Rock, and I've said it last week as well. That was Rock fully coming into himself, and Rock had always kind of been in Austin's shadow, from prior to 15 onwards, even. And it was always about Rock trying to prove that he could be Austin's equal, if not his better. And by the time Rock had done Hollywood, he was already a 7-time champ. By 30, he did damn near everything you'd ever want to do in pro wrestling. And then he transitions into movies successfully. So he was on top of the world. And Austin, through that whole debacle that he had with taking his ball and going home and kind of probably knowing the back of his mind that his time was just about up, right? His body was fucked from injuries. Didn't want to put the young guys over, didn't want to put the old guys over either, but he put The Rock over, which I thought was really stand up of him. Rock's legacy clearly superseded the ring. Austin kind of, in a way, stayed right where he was. Like, he's still got a kinetic energy about him, even to this day. Like, if a glass breaks at 41, I will shit my literal pants. I will say that right now. Like, Austin has built a legacy that few, if any, will be able to equal. And then their last match I thought was great. Rock was clearly very emotional after finally beating Austin. But the main event was like, and this is really kind of what sealed it for me, because I'm such a fucking Kurt Angle mark. I'm such a Brock Lesnar mark, particularly for that period of time when he was still young and hungry and dominant the way he was. I'm just a sucker for like amateur wrestlers transitioning into pro wrestling, which is why I'm a big fan of Chad Gable and Tavion Heights. Trying to think of some of the other big names who actually made it, not named Gable Steveson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how about Gable Steveson?
Yeah, how about Gable Steveson, eh? Yeah, and we could talk about that too. That was a hell of a match in of its own right, in its own sport. Wyatt Henderson boys. But no, Brock and Kurt was
Brandon,
Brock
it's
and
not
Kurt was
my top
fucking.
5 for 2 reasons. Number one, the racist one against Booker T. That was bad.
Oh yeah, I did
All-time-
gloss over that.
All-time bad decision. All-time bad.
Intentionally, I did intentionally gloss over that one.
Yeah. Match was good, but that's an all-time bad decision.
Took 40 seconds to pin him after a pedigree. Not great.
Yeah.
And then Brock almost died.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I firmly believe that if Brock would have hit that shooting star press clean, this is the greatest main event in the history of WrestleMania.
I agree.
Arguably.
I agree. But instead, he lands head first. And if he did not have Cobra traps, he would be dead.
Yeah, he has some insane build. Like, he's 295 pounds. I don't give a fuck, man. Like that. I'm surprised he wasn't even like dazed. At least not from what I could tell.
I know he had a whopper of concussion. You could tell. He
Oh,
was.
yeah, I must have missed it.
Oof. You could see it in
But
his
he still
eyes.
carried through.
Not
He
there.
finished the damn match, though. I mean, kudos to Kurt, too. I'm sure Kurt helped him a lot through that last final bit, but
On top of that, Kurt's wrestling that match with a broken freaking neck.
he sure fucking was.
That's your Olympic hero right there.
Hell yeah, it is.
Shout out Kurt,
So
super
I'm-
nice dude. If you've ever met him, JPJ, you ever get the chance to meet Kurt?
I have not. No, but I've heard nothing but wonderful things about that individual.
Quite a nice man.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I shook his hand at WrestleMania 40 for that meet and greet or whatever, dude. But it was when I met you guys,
Yeah.
and man, I had a fucking out of body experience there. When I looked into that man's eyes, I was like, man, like I was starstruck for sure.
Yep, same. Well, my number fives were talked about. Donnie, well,
I had 31 already talked about.
JPJ, what'd you have?
I had 19, which we've already discussed.
Brandon, what was your number 5?
This will be a quickie, I guess. I had WrestleMania 20, which we also discussed.
There we go.
I don't think the emphasis on the cinema that was Undertaker versus Kane was touched on enough.
I said it was the
But
return
that
of
would
the
be
dead man that got us to the real Graps matches in his later of his career.
well, yeah, but you have to speak to the build to that as well. You have to speak to the Buried Alive match at Survivor Series. You have to speak to, the build leading to the match itself, where it's Taker in his darkness that's ominously foreboding over Kane, and then the arena goes dark. Madison Square Garden goes dark as Kane's just having a shit fit in the ring, and then you hear Paul Bearer go,
Oh, you just destroyed
the
your
Druids
mic
come
doing
out.
that one.
"Oh yeah,
We caught
sorry."
some of that.
I mean,
Often
to be-
imitated, never
none of it
duplicated.
really.
Rest in peace.
Did you
Paul Bearer.
at least catch any sort of octave above that I normally go?
Well, your volume probably cut to about 10% because the pitch that you were at was too piercing
Fair.
for your microphone.
Is acting in self defense probably.
It definitely
Luckily, I
was.
didn't blow up in my ears. But yes, Taker versus Kane was the highlight of 20 for me.
I mean, it's arguably their best match together, which it's not saying much, but
Yeah, they had some snoozers. I mean, I will say their first Inferno match was like, for what it was. Again, the whole like spectacle associated to it was pretty sweet. Obviously, it's
Look
very
at
campy.
I was in the building. I was in the building for the first one at WrestleMania 14 as a teenager, so that's obviously going to hold a special place for me. But yeah, he had to beat him with 3 tombstones for me as like 3 tombstones. What?
Yeah.
That's
right.
crazy. That's crazy.
And WWE put out a video of them talking about it, and there was the tombstone at the end on the chair. And Taker went with the "Oh, you got me, brother." That fucking Hogan tried to clown on him for.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
He covered that. I saw the first ever Dead Man show, one Dead Man show in Nashville at SummerSlam 22, which is also really cool. I don't have no idea if the formatting is the same now as it was for that show, but he talked about that spot specifically. Hogan, brother, my neck. But if it's the same sort of sequencing as it was when we went, where they actually did like live Q&A for the crowd, that show is great to go to. And I know it's happening WrestleMania weekend. So any of our listeners that might be interested in checking out some of the post-curriculars at WrestleMania, the one Dead Man show is very good.
I will always talk about going to WrestleCon. WrestleCon is great. I was added in Indy for the Royal Rumble. JPJ, if we knew. But
yeah, I was there too. Yeah, I would have loved to have met up. But yeah, no, WrestleCon, I will say, for all the big shows I go to, con is, if you are capable of marking some time in your travels, I would make a point to go to WrestleCon. It's always a good time.
It's a lot more personable. I like WWE World or Access called. You're kind of Donnie, as you said, you were kind of shuffled on.
Oh man, Elimination Chamber photo shoots were rough. I was ready to yell at somebody for that, but yeah, you kind of feel like a bit of meat, like cattle, just getting herded along from thing to thing. But
But with WrestleCon, you go up to the talent. You don't even have to buy anything. You okay, and most of them are very nice. There's only one who I didn't really have a great. That was Jake Roberts, but I think that guy's just kind of, always angry.
He's done his time.
Yeah, but like I highly recommend it. JPJ, you going to Mania this year at all?
I am not. I am not making the trek out there this year. My hopes are I'm going to be going to SummerSlam in New Jersey, so I'll be there.
Hell
That's
yeah.
kind of the next
There you
big one that I think I'll be heading to. And then my hopes is that I'll be in New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans, so my goal is to get down there next year for New Orleans. But I will not be.
Oh,
in
you'll
Vegas,
love New
sadly.
Orleans.
Yeah, I was in
New
Vegas
Orleans.
for SummerSlam a couple years ago, 21.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'm not making it out there now. But yeah, New Orleans, I'm hoping to get down to next year and much enjoy myself. I've heard nothing but great things about New Orleans.
Oh, it's a fucking incredible city, dude. There's so much shit to
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
Bourbon Street is always, always live. You ain't got to wait for February. Like I went in, so for reference, just to kind of strengthen the point, I went there in April about 2 years ago, and it was like high 70s, low 80s the entire fucking week. And so I feel like with WrestleMania next year, you can expect nothing but the same. I feel like whenever they host some shit, like didn't they host? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they host the draft? Like
Yeah, they had
last year
the
too?
draft. They had the draft this year. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this
So
year it's
like,
going to
I
Green
mean,
Bay, but last year, yeah, they had the draft. The last
Yeah,
one.
and if
Yeah.
I'm feeling up for it, I'm probably gonna drive up to the draft this year.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to, dude.
Yeah.
It's right there.
I just think, yeah, New Orleans is always one of those, like, when they host the Super Bowl, when they've host Mania, you never hear bad things about it. You always hear from people that travel for it, like, oh, great town to be at. It's a party city. There's a ton of shit to do. The food is great. The atmosphere is great. Like,
Yep.
it just feels like a city that I'll have a whale of a time for 5 or 6 days, So
That's why I'm
It is
excited
one
about
of a
Vegas
kind.
because I've never been to Vegas. Philadelphia
Yeah.
was fine. I really liked how Indianapolis kind of.
Oh,
Like,
Indy
I'm
was
excited for
great.
that Indie Mania whenever it
Yes,
happens.
Indy. I will say about Indy is like everything is right there for. So like if you stay anywhere within like even the outskirts of the city, it's all right there. If you go to the city, you can walk to everything. Everything is well put together. I very much enjoyed Indy, what they did for a
And they
Rumble
cared.
weekend. I
They
thought it was
cared
great.
about WWE being there. They had all the streets
Yes.
names, and
Mhm.
they made it like a whole event, and it was great. And I mean, fantastic. And it was just such a good time. And I
I
mean,
had a
I'm
great weekend. It was a great
same.
time in Indy. They really showed up. Like I thought Indy represented themselves very well.
I would agree. They were happy to be there, so I'll drive down for the Mania, SummerSlam. Yeah, I'm there, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is there anything else we want to cover? This was a long episode. I know he said an hour and a bit. And we're over 2 hours. Is there anything else you guys wanted to cover WrestleMania related before we start wrapping her up?
I just want to give a quick shout out to Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville.
Oh hell yeah!
One of the all-time great WrestleMania matches of all time. That's all. We don't have to go deep into it.
Hell
Just
yeah!
So fun.
I don't think I have enjoyed a WrestleMania match as much as I enjoyed that one in a long. And it's wonderful. And it was my favorite WrestleMania match of that whole WrestleMania. It's one of my all-time favorites. So I just wanted to give it a shout out because I think it is just a great time. Just a great time.
I would agree.
Hell yeah!
Sami Zayn is tailor made to work with a guy like Johnny Knoxville for sure. That was the right pairing.
I think Sami Zayn's going to be winning a world title next year at WrestleMania. So
I fucking hope so.
You got to imagine he's one of the favorites to win the Royal Rumble. We've talked about that a little bit on the pod.
I think he's going to win the Royal Rumble in Saudi. I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to win the Rumble in Saudi, and I think next year, whatever title he's going, I think he's the guy.
Hell yeah, dial me up for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
JPJ, we want to thank you for being on the show. It's the first time we had a guest. It was obviously a new experience for us, but hopefully a positive one for you. We'll be happy to have you back we already have some ideas for some shows that we can do. We're talking about music, we're talking about matches, we're talking about whatever the hell else we want to talk about. But thank you very much, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a great time, guys. I know we went a little, but I think we went long because the conversation was pretty damn good. So
when you're having fun, time doesn't
yeah,
fucking
and
matter.
look at WrestleMania is one of those topics we probably could have gone for another hour or two if we really wanted to. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot
Probably.
more we could. There's a lot more we could have dived in.
Sure
So
could have.
no, but I had a great time. Thank you for having me. Anytime I am available, you let me know. I will come on and talk about anything. This was a really good time. It felt good. So yeah, I'm down for anything. So just let me know.
Maybe we'll have to do a combo episode. We got our second happy hour line during NXT with Najee on next. Shout out Najee.
We love that fella too. I've met him a couple times. He's one of my boys. We love Najee. So
I'm gonna meet him. We're gonna meet up with him in Vegas.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, he's a great dude. He's a great dude. I met him in SummerSlam last year in Cleveland, but we met up again in Indy as well. Like that's a great dude, man. He's one of the best. So yeah, shout out to him.
Hopefully, if we get some traction, we can all meet up at like a media thing. I love that.
That would be ideal, man. I
would
want to
like
I want
to do that as well.
Yeah, I want to continue doing cool shit with cool people, man. That's kind of my vibe. So that's what I aim to do.
Yeah.
So that sounds good to me, you know?
We'll all coordinate something for sure. I got nothing else. Brandon, anything you want to go over?
No, I mean, thank you again very much for coming on, Jay. Pleasure's been all ours. Like Pierce said it, like I'd love for us to all get together sometime, do this again. Like this has kind of been our outreach into the greater wrestling community, as it were. So, love having you, love doing this kind of thing. So hopefully we'll be wrapping some shit here pretty soon. Once again.
Sounds good to me.
And thank you to all our listeners as well for checking us out on the Ope three-way. Next week, we're going to be covering what should be the majority of the WrestleMania 41 card. We'll get into the full details of the card next week. And we will likely have our predictions for what we know at that point as well, considering we'll have to plan logistics, whether we can sneak in an episode while we're live in Vegas the week after. So looking forward to next week covering the Mania 41 card with you boys.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Me and Donnie bought our night one tickets. Brandon, I think, is gonna be at Circa Mania. Is that your?
Yeah, Circa Mania seems to be the gear. Also going to be shelling out for Unbreakable because I feel like this is going to be one of my few shots to actually get to see a TNA show. And they seem to be going the right way there with their booking and whatever they're doing. I mean, minus the Gail Kim shit, But beyond that, and, I'm sure you boys have your opinions on Tessa Blanchard as well, but I feel like, generally speaking, they're going in the right direction. So I'd like to catch a TNA show just once.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be going to Bloodsport in Vegas. I'm super hyped for that. They just announced Jonathan Gresham versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
That's the rule.
Oh God.
It's all I need.
I'm very interested to see Natalia on that show as well. I don't know if you guys saw her promo that she put on socials the other day.
So good.
Incredible. Give me that on WWE TV, and I will immediately care about Natalia. Immediately.
The boat.
Yes.
And I'll be at Stand and Deliver. I'll be on the floor at Stand and Deliver. So if you're any of our listeners are at any of those events or at WrestleMania Night 1 or 2, WrestleCon, or WWE World, make sure you find the old Ope crew. We'll be out in full force.
Yeah, we got a couple of meet and greets that I'm doing at World. Today. I'm excited for that. Ethan Page, Karen Cross the Scarlet, friend of the show, Carrion, follows us on Twitter. That's pretty cool. And I had one other one. Who was it? LA Knight as well.
Yeah.
Donnie, who are you going to?
We're going to go see R-Truth, Chelsea Green, and Alpha Academy on the Friday.
Yeah.
Marta's a big Otis fan, so have to satisfy her needs with her wrestlers that she enjoys.
Otis he's a good old Wisconsin boy, so he's good by us.
Hell yeah.
JPJ, you got anything else you want to say, or?
No, thanks for having me, guys. I very much appreciate anybody that's listening. Between Two Beards every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, over on Love Wrestling's YouTube, youtube.com/Love Wrestling CA. But other than that, this was a hell of a time, guys. I will come. So please reach out because
Absolutely.
yeah, man, this was a good conversation. I will talk about a lot of things with you fellas. So appreciate the invite and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You're welcome to
Oh, I
come
know you-
on whenever. We appreciate you very much.
Thank
I know you do your own live streams there too, Jay. So I'll be probably hitting you up to jump on one of them if you'd be so
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah, you guys can follow me, JPJ Loves Gaming, on all social media platforms. I am on Twitch. I do play a lot of MLB The Show and just kind of sports games in general, but we dabble in a lot of everything there. But yeah, JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms everywhere, and at B2Beards for the Love Wrestling and like the Between Two Beards show that we do on Thursday night. So yeah, hit me up, give me a follow. I'm always doing a ton of shit. So yeah, man.
Cool. Pierce, you want to send us home?
Yeah, I think it's about a good time as always. Thanks as always for stopping into the Ope 3-Way. Have a beer on us. We'll see you next time. Have a great night.